And
We're live.
hey, everybody! I got a nice microphone this week. You good, Max?
I'm all set.
All right, we're gonna properly be starting the show here in 3, 2, 1. Hello, friends. Welcome to episode number 44 of Millennial Gaming Speak. I am your host, Logan Moore, and with me this week is Maximilian Roberts.
Episode 44.
I don't
Spanish
speak
2
Japanese.
coming in at you hot, fresh off the semester. This is episode 44. We've been doing this a while.
We have been doing this a while.
I'm so excited.
Over a
This
year.
is that time of year. It's better than Christmas. It's great.
I bet I have such a sexy voice on our show this week because of my microphone.
Yes, Logan hijacked a microphone from work, and it's gorgeous looking from this end.
It's very nice from this end. I very much like it. I'm going to sound better than Max for one of our episodes finally.
It's going to be cool.
So if you're watching on YouTube, you can see my nice jury rig thing here. It's like I'm a professional radio host. I can move.
Yeah,
this
it's
thing
got
around.
it's got the shock absorber, like the suspension mount. It's got an XLR cable that plugs into a box.
Oh, it's professional, dude.
Oh, it looks professional, and I can only see the microphone. I can't even see the stuff holding the microphone in place.
Yeah, that's true. It's really nice. Yeah, this microphone sits in a corner of one of the offices at my job all the time, and I was like, hey, can I just take that home tomorrow? And they're like, yeah, I guess just bring it back the next day. So now I'm recording with a really nice microphone, and I'm probably going to blow money on a nice one like this soon, because once you go this nice, you don't really want to go back to
It's hard to go back to crummy audio, and that's for me going from anything and then now using the Yeti. I really do like my Yeti a lot.
I will actually be interested to see how it does sound on this week's episode, though, because I usually try to listen back to the MP3, and I want to hear.
I'm excited to hear that audio waveform. Look at it, analyze it, break it
actually
down.
Looks like 10 times nicer than the Snowball does normally.
Nice.
Max, what's been up? I kind of know what's been up, and
you kind of know because you and I have been doing what's up together. We've been playing that there Overwatch.
We have, because you got it for your birthday, which was last week. Happy belated birthday.
It was what's today? Monday or Tuesday?
Today's Tuesday.
It was Sunday. It was 2 days ago.
It was Sunday? I thought it was like 3 days ago or 4 days ago.
It was Sunday.
Didn't you get Overwatch like Friday?
Sunday.
Is that when you saw? Oh, I guess I just forget everything.
It's fine. But I got Overwatch for Xbox, and you and I actually played yesterday for a little bit.
Yeah, that's like the first time we actually really played a game together, and
that wasn't in person.
Yeah, so that was nice. I actually look forward to doing that much more, and if we finish these episodes and it's not 3 o'clock in the morning, we should
if it's 3 o'clock in the morning, I've missed my shift at work, so hopefully it's not 3 o'clock in the morning when this ends.
Max, what's your real job? Podcasting or throwing chicken sandwiches into the kitchen?
Well, this is to unload a truck, but
what do you unload?
One of these pays all the chicken, like all the food.
How much chicken is it?
I don't know. Lots of chicken, man. Fills a freezer, a walk-in freezer full.
I really want to go to Chick-fil-A soon. It sounds so
you should go. Go find one.
I know where one's at. It's just
go on a journey. Go there.
All right. Well, this episode's over. I'm going on a Chick-fil-A journey. Hope you enjoyed episode 44.
Periscope your chicken adventures.
So what do you think about Overwatch so far? I've had it for about a week. I keep liking it more and more and more the more I play. Getting really used to all the characters. I like how different they all feel, and I'm starting to learn which characters to use in certain situations. It's cool. The more you play it, the more I think you start getting hooked into it, strangely. What's your early impressions after maybe 5 to 10 matches?
Yeah, around there. Excuse me. I played a few matches here and there. I've played. Today I tried to switch up characters. Like I played Winston, the gorilla, today.
Oh yeah,
I liked him a lot. I liked him
a lot.
Oh my gosh,
he's really hard to play as, but
I was jumping around, slamming on people.
Yeah, that's fun to do.
It was really fun.
You got to make sure you're in close, or else you get screwed real quickly.
You get walloped. His gun doesn't reach far. Anyway, like you said, I'm sorry. I drank tea and now it's not sitting well, which is bad.
Burping
Anyway,
a whole bunch.
each character does feel different and unique, and that's fun because while similar to Smash Brothers, the controls are the same. You know, this is a special attack, this is blah 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 blah. It's the same way in Overwatch, but each character has different abilities and does different things, so they each feel unique. And I feel like that's kind of taken from Smash Brothers in a way. A lot of people compare it to Team Fortress 2. I've never really played that game, so I can't make that analogy, but it does feel unique. The, the two game modes I can see getting boring after a while. Obviously, I'm very new to it. I'm still enjoying it a lot, but
yeah, I think there's like 3 or 4 game modes, and then there's each side of it. So there's always an attack and there's an attack and defend on some of them, and then they've got the payload one, they've got the control point one, and then they've got the defend the objective points. So I think those are like the 3 main ones right now.
My biggest question I wanted to ask you specifically because you're such a big Battlefront fan. Both this and Battlefront are multiplayer only games, primarily online multiplayer only games. There's no campaign.
Yeah.
I mean, in Battlefront, you can do some single player training or missions. You can play against the AI in Overwatch. Why is Overwatch being so well received? Not just critically, because Battlefront was received pretty well critically as far as like a good looking game. It was fun and, Star Wars. But why is Overwatch being so like publicly accepted and embraced and loved with open arms? But everyone's like, Battlefront, where's our campaign? This game's garbage. It has no modes. And Battlefront had a ton of modes.
Yeah. I think part of it, I've definitely thought the same thing because I do really love both games a lot for what they do. I think part of it is Battlefront there was already 2 previous Battlefront games, and each of them
so
did
it's an
have
established franchise.
Yeah, it's kind of an established franchise. I mean, it was a relaunch. There hadn't been a game in 10 years. So,
but with that and the fact it's Star Wars, it's probably this known quantity thing, and you're holding it to a higher bar. But I mean, Overwatch is a Blizzard game, and people love Blizzard.
Overwatch is a Blizzard game, but at the same time, like it's the first thing Blizzard's ever done like this in a way, and it's also it's new, and people don't have expectations for it already. Like people expect with Battlefront games, there's going to be Galactic Conquest, there's going to be a single player mode, there's going to be a versus mode, there's going to be all these things like the old Battlefronts, and there wasn't. Well, it was Battlefront in spirit, which was Stormtroopers versus Rebels. It was a multiplayer game. That's what Battlefront's always kind of been, was the multiplayer Star Wars game. People expected it to build off of Battlefront 2, which is a game from 2005. And so they expected, this needs to have space battles. This needs to have prequel stuff. This needs to have this laundry list of things. And then it needs to have more than that. So when people said it didn't have enough content, I completely disagreed with that because I thought, there was, again, I've said it 1,000 times on the show. There's enough content in that game, and the game is fun enough to play it for hours and hours on end. Yes, I love that game, and I put 60, 70 hours into that game. I'll probably put more hours into it in a couple weeks when they come out with the new DLC. But yeah, I just think people had expectations for it, and they said it was crappy because they expected it to be something else that it wasn't. And that's you can't expect something from a game that doesn't have, especially since from day one, DICE told you what the game was. They said this is multiplayer only, this has this, and this, and then it's still released, and people complained that it didn't have X, Y, and Z when DICE upfront said it's not going to have X, Y, and Z. So I don't know.
So it's just that it's a known thing, and people expected more out of it, and it didn't deliver on those expectations.
Yeah, Battlefront. I didn't go in with many expectations for Battlefront. Like some people didn't. I had a really fun time with it. Like I liked it a lot, and I think expectations are what killed Battlefront for a lot of people. The game still sold 14 million copies though, so I'm
Star Wars has that power.
Yeah, especially when it's the first Star Wars game since LucasArts went under. So yeah, that was nice. I don't know. Overwatch is just really fun. It's a blast to play. At the core of it, it's just really fun. And I think if people could have put aside their expectations with Battlefront, they would have found that it's a lot of fun too. I know it's not the tightest shooter ever, but it's got an arcadey feel to it, and I think that's why it's enjoyable. Overwatch, again, fun is the number one most important thing when you're playing a video game. And I think Overwatch is it right, and I think Battlefront did it right. And Overwatch specifically is a lot of fun. And like we've both talked about, it's a game where you play it and then it kind of sticks with you after you've played it, and you're thinking about it when you're away. Like, okay, maybe next time I'll try this combination. I'll try this character. I really want to try to get better with this character. Like, you texted me yesterday while you were at work, and you're like, I'm at work. I'm really thinking about Overwatch right now.
I'm breading the chicken, and I'm thinking about, man, how could I have done, how could I have defended that point better, escorted that payload more efficiently? What was I doing wrong positions? Like today in a match, maybe just to wrap it up, I got loaded into a game mid-game. So some people left, and I was just filling in the spots. And I noticed they didn't have the tank. Yeah, the tank character. So I picked Diva, who I like a lot. And it was a Hollywood map. And I went in there and got killed kind of soon, just kind of figuring out where everything is. But the second time I took this elevator up to like this upper level, and I was above the payload, like directly above it. And I just annihilated everyone beneath me, which, you wouldn't think a tank is supposed to be up top, but it was just fun to do that and then drop down and boost into people.
It's always really fun to get the drop on people in that game.
Mm-hmm. Everything, it's fun. It's cool. It's unique. It's different. I'm curious how long I'll be invested. I'm curious how long the community will be invested.
I think it's going to be, I don't think people are going to get sick of it just because if you do play as one certain character for long enough and then you're like, okay, I'm tired of playing as this character, there's 20 others to choose from. There's 21 characters. They're only going to keep adding more. It's really hard to get sick of because you're constantly mixing up completely how you play the game. So, I mean, you can go from going on the assault and attacking people to being more of a defender, like with Winston or something like that, and protecting control points, or to even being a healer. Like, there's just so many different ways to play and so many different things going on that it's really hard to get sick of because of that. And that's the same sort of thing I found with Team Fortress 2 when back in the day when I used to play the ever-loving snot out of that game. There's so many different ways to play that you never really get bored of it, because the second you get bored, you just switch characters and it's a little bit different of an experience. So you're constantly finding new ways to play and new things to change up the experience. And I think it's going to have long legs because of that. And I think it's going to be a game I come back to a bunch purely because of that. And it's worth noting that Blizzard is releasing all of the add-on content for free as it comes out this year. There's going to be new maps, new modes. I know they have competitive play with ranked leaderboards coming soon. I think that's in July. Everything they add on to the game, which if you know Blizzard, you know they add on a lot of stuff as their game goes on. It's all going to be free. So there's no season pass, nothing like that. If you buy the game, you're going to get everything the game turns into as it goes on, which is really awesome. Blizzard's really good to their fans in that sense. So I don't know. I think it's a great game. I'm really glad I bought it. I'm really glad that the community has rallied around it. And I really like the memes that this game has created.
It's created some memes.
It's created a decent amount of memes. I also love all of the play of the game videos that have come out with fake.
My gosh,
those are the best. There's hundreds of those. I fell into a hole of watching them the other day, and it was really funny.
Nice.
So
very nice.
Overwatch, very good game.
Very good.
Got your play. So we're gonna jump into notable news.
Well, I was gonna say I was gonna try and segue, and you were just like, "Let's do it." You're just crashing through that wall.
We gotta dive in this week. So
because Logan, I don't know if you know this, but E3 is next week.
E3 is next week. E3 is
actually
5 days away, technically.
Yeah.
Because it starts Sunday now.
Mm-hmm. And actually, if we could teleport a week into the future right now, we'd know everything. We know it all. All the press conferences would be over. We'd know all those juicy Zelda Wii U details.
We wouldn't know anything else about the NX. So.
Or would we?
No, we won't. And we'll talk about that. Let's say this up front. So if you're listening to episode 44, we have our predictions spectacular coming up immediately after this. So if you're watching us on YouTube, hi. We're going to be recording our next episode immediately after this. We're having a one-off episode, a not numbered episode. So this is episode 44. How you doing? If you follow us, if you're subscribed on iTunes or you're on SoundCloud, any of that stuff, look right above this and you'll probably see another episode labeled E3 2016 predictions episode. Mm-hmm. So look for that. We're going to break down all of the different press conferences, Microsoft, Sony, EA, Bethesda, Ubisoft, and a little bit of Nintendo in there.
Oh, yeah, total Nintendo.
Sort of. I don't really know. I don't know too
I
much
have
to
the
predict for them.
predictions.
So we're gonna break all those down. If you want to hear what we're expecting to happen at E3, go listen to that episode. I'm sure it's going to be a great episode.
We'll see how right or wrong we are.
I can see in the future it's going to be a great episode, and it'll live in our minds for generations to come. But so this week though,
on episode 44, on this what you're listening to or watching right now.
Hello, if you can hear our voices right now, we got a bunch of news that we didn't really expect. Looks like it's like E3.
We've been talking about this drought leading up to E3 as expected, and then today and yesterday, it just all the oasis appeared. The water came out of the ground, and now it's filling up this desert. And by this time next week, it's going to be the ocean. It's going to be filled with all sorts of video game nonsense.
I was thinking of it like Christmas, you know, when it's like the night before Christmas and you see all the presents under the tree, and then your parents are like, okay, well, you open one. And then you're like, oh my gosh, I get a present early. It's
but the present you opened is like those Russian dolls, and you just keep opening them, and there's just more and more news, good or bad, that is just filling.
None of it's too big. A bunch of it's like early leak stuff. The stuff, I mean,
it's a lot of leaks. It's hard to bad news.
Yeah, it's hard to keep,
which is expected.
It's hard to keep stuff hidden with today's internet culture. So it just seems like a bunch of stuff's leaked out. Let's hop right into it, Max. I have no idea what we've got on our doc, but I'm just going to go down the list.
What? No, I got this doc all organized.
I'm just staring over here at what I wrote on my paper.
No, we're in totally different order.
Oh well, let's figure it out. Let me look at your doc. So.
I try to get
first. I'm just going to run down the whole list. We've seriously got like 10 pieces of news here. We're going to go fast.
Yeah, I have the short stuff that you just wanted to blur through, and then stuff we've actually got
a bunch of small things that we're just going to blast through. First off, Final Fantasy 12 is getting a remaster on PS4. It's out later this year, I think. Kind of weird.
I'll double check if it's this year.
I don't know.
I think it was next.
Is it next? Bottom line, I don't know.
2017, yeah.
I don't know what the point of that is, but
it's cool, I guess. I mean, they did Final Fantasy.
They did 10.
They've done other remasters. You know, I think they're trying to cash in on 15 hype. Makes sense.
Yeah,
keep remastering games. Square Enix is good at that. Thank God this doesn't have a tedious name though, like certain games that are getting a trailer tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
We'll pick that up.
Cough. Kingdom Hearts.
So yeah, if you want to talk about that, yeah, actually, I think E3 kind of starts tomorrow, because isn't that Square Enix's whole E3 show is tomorrow morning?
I don't think so. I didn't even hear about this.
I thought it was. Let me double check.
Anyway, I can talk about other stuff.
Let me see here. What else is next? Watch Dogs. Speaking of, I was gonna say Watch Dogs. Speaking of tomorrow, I don't know where we've got that on the list. But speaking of tomorrow, recent countdown showed up on a website, counting down for Watch Dogs 2 reveal trailer and all that stuff. That comes out tomorrow morning, so that's a thing. Also, on top of that, though, there was an early ad leak, and it seems like we know the date that the game is releasing now. It looks like it's coming out November 15th of this year. We'll confirm all that stuff next week. Obviously, it looks like it's gonna.
The setting of the game is San Francisco.
Yeah, San Francisco. That's right too. So a bunch of things we talked about. I think we talked about this earlier in the year when we heard that there was a possibility of these things happening. It's been rumored though that it was going to be in San Francisco. It was going to come out later this year. They were going to reveal it at E3. All those things are right. So Watch Dogs 2 looks like it's coming in November.
The interesting thing about this Watch Dogs 2 thing, if they announce it, I mean, okay, not if they have confirmed it and they're announcing it tomorrow. If it does come out, in fact, this November, this is a complete opposite turnaround of Watch Dogs 1. Watch Dogs 1 had 2 to 3 years of hype leading up to it. The game went through different demos. It even got a visual downgrade that really upset a lot of people in the community. Like, that game dragged on as far as development and announcements and all that hype. This is the Fallout 4 thing, which you were talking with me about before the show. If they can stick to that release date, this is another like 6-month turnaround for a game that could be received pretty well, especially considering there's no Assassin's Creed game this year.
Yeah. Everybody's hoping that this gets the Assassin's Creed 1 to Assassin's Creed 2 treatment. I've got my fingers crossed. I played through all of Watch Dogs. Looking back, I don't really like it. I honestly don't even really know why I stuck with it. It was fine. Like, I understood what it was trying to do, but they really need to That
That's
game
how I
needs
felt at the end of every Assassin's Creed game.
it
Why
needs
not
to
play
be
that?
it needs to be more fun though. There was no like core element of gameplay that I thought was fun. Even like with the early Assassin's Creeds though, I thought the free running and running across the roofs, that was at least fun and it felt like I was doing something. There was no core gameplay mechanic in Watch Dogs that stuck out as like, "Oh, I'm really enjoying
But you
this."
can hack everything.
Oh my gosh, everything. The only cool part was that
Everything.
the game started off in like Wrigley Field, a ripoff of Wrigley Field during a Cubs game. It looked exactly like it, but they couldn't call it Wrigley. Yeah, I don't know. I'm interested to see what it has in it. I think it's going to be a lot better than the first one. I have hope for it. I think it's going to be a lot better. I like the San Francisco setting. That sounds interesting to me. We'll see. The trailer comes out tomorrow. This is probably going to be, I don't know when we'll get back to talking about this on one of our next episodes. We probably won't talk about
45.
it again. Yeah, we'll probably talk about it on the next numbered episode because we've got what 3 or 4 episodes between now and our next numbered.
Yeah, because of, we want our press conference breakdowns and
Yeah.
our predictions episode. So episode 45, you should hear something about Watch Dogs 2 and that sort of stuff, unless we do a specific show for Ubisoft. Ubisoft's the oddball this year. We don't know if we're doing a specific
we'll fill you guys in on our plans later this episode, and we'll also fill you in on the E3 predictions episode we have coming up if you listen to that as well. So we're trying to get our schedule put together here and how we're going to record for next week, and we'll figure it out from there. So yeah, the Watch Dogs trailer drops tomorrow. What else we got?
XCOM 2.
XCOM 2 is coming to consoles later this year. Simple as that. It was PC only at first. Got rave reviews last year when it came out. Sequel to Enemy Unknown that came out about 3-4 years ago. It's coming to console now. Nothing much more than that. Figured just worth a mention because
September 17th.
Yeah, so figure that was worth mentioning. We've also got a leaked poster today for Injustice 2. If you follow Ed Boon on Twitter, the creator of Mortal Kombat and Injustice, you'll know that he has been teasing this for a while now. He actually changed his Twitter logo, his Twitter avatar to the Roman numeral 2, but he was kind of teasing people, and he was like, "Is it the number 2 or is it number 11?" Because the next Mortal Kombat would be 11. And then
that's smart. That's cool. I mean,
he changed it to that, and he's like, "But is it a 2 or is it 11? Is it a 2 or is it 11?" So, because obviously he knows that. Obviously, he's telling people that one of their new games is going to get announced soon. But he was having some fun with
fighting
people.
Game is coming.
Yeah,
from the people that make Mortal Kombat.
Yeah. So a poster leaked this morning showing Batman and Flash with the Injustice 2 logo beneath it. Leaked early. Ed Boon actually commented on it on Twitter. He's like, "Is there any way to get this stuff off the internet?"
That's cool. That's I remember playing Injustice when it was free on PlayStation Plus. It's a fun game.
I should have downloaded it. That was so stupid of me. I don't know.
Missed out. It's a good. I mean, it was fun. I had fun with it.
It's a fun game.
I'm never really into those 2D fighters, but I had fun with it. It's cool to see superheroes beating each other up.
Yeah, for sure.
Clearly based off movie trends this year. And speaking of DC, how many copies did you pre-order of Batman vs Superman Ultimate Director's Cut Edition? Because I have at least 1 million pre-ordered already.
I pre-ordered 5 of them. I'm planning on burning 3 of them. I'm probably going to throw one of them into a lake in my backyard, and then the other one I may just open the disc and then just wipe my butt with it and flush it down the toilet. So
that's intense. That game.
I don't know how wiping my butt with a disc is going to work, but
it would, and how flushing it down the toilet would work either.
We'll figure it out. We'll make it work. Gosh, that doesn't look good at all. What else we got? Dead Rising 4 kind of leaked.
You were excited for this.
I was super excited for this because I love Dead Rising 3. I've played all the Dead Rising games at this point. 1 was good. 1 was fun, but it had an awful save system that really held the game back. And if you...
I know that feeling. Mass Effect.
Mass Effect, you could save anywhere.
Yeah, but there's no checkpoints. Checkpoint system's atrocious.
Okay, well, you don't know anything then because... Well, you know nothing, Jon Snow. Because
I know plenty. I played the game.
Well, I meant with Dead Rising. I'm saying you don't know. Really
got
bad.
It. I was gonna say I know plenty about this.
If you think that's a bad save system, then oh boy, Dead Rising's like 40 times worse.
What did you have to do in Dead Rising?
You had to go to the bathroom and pee, and that's how you saved. And there was
I'm sure there were very few bathrooms.
There was like very scattered bathrooms throughout the game.
And they were probably really far apart.
Yep. And so if you died, which was a common thing, the other thing that sucked about the game was you had to keep on a stringent schedule. The game was actually like had a clock to it. It's like,
so it's like Pikmin.
You had to be like sort of, except way harder. You had to be like at this location at 6 p.m., complete that mission there in a certain amount of time. As soon as you finish that, you got to be at the next location by this time. And if you miss if you miss any of these at a certain time, you miss all of the subsequent missions that come after it, and you fail the entire story. So Dead Rising 1, it was a fun game to run around and play with. Really, really hard to ever see the story through. Dead Rising 2 got a little bit better, a little bit more forgiving with those things. Dead Rising 3 is still kind of all the same thing. Yeah, it was an Xbox One launch game. It was still like you had the schedule and stuff like that. Way more forgiving though, way more easy to access everything. That game was a lot of fun. The vehicle combat in it was great. Looks like Dead Rising 4 is coming now. I'm happy about that. I'm really excited to see what they do next. Because Dead Rising 3 I actually bought day one with my Xbox. I wasn't planning on buying it, and then I just randomly picked it up the day I got my Xbox. It was a lot of fun. It was my favorite launch title that came out.
I got it for Christmas. I played it a little bit. It's very impressive how many NPCs they have on screen at once.
Yeah, that
was the tech thing. I was like, look at how many zombies we can put on the screen. Not that conveys great quality or anything, but it's a fun game. It's good.
Yeah.
Forgot.
So all we saw for that was like a poster leak. So I would expect that we're going to see that at Microsoft's press conference next week. We'll probably learn more of it there. They probably won't say anything until
we forgot one minor thing.
What is that, Max?
Yacht Club Games showed off
like
3-second GIF of King Knight gameplay, and it looks glorious. That's all I gotta say. It looks so good. And I'm really hoping over the course of the next week, we get at least release windows for King Knight and Spectre Knight. Because
where would they show up and talk about that at, though?
No, they would just put it up online. No. They wouldn't. They wouldn't be at a press conference. They would just they'd put it out, in the flood of game.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Because I can't tell you how excited I am. I'll replay it. I'll get hyped for it by playing it on my Xbox, and then when the DLC comes out, back to my Vita, baby. Ooh, that game is so good.
Okay, so I'm gonna cut our Mirror's Edge thing.
I did already. I put a line through it.
We were gonna talk about Mirror's Edge. The reviews weren't that hot. I was just gonna ask Max if he thought another one in the series would come.
No,
I think kind of just both thought that no. If this one flopped, the first one flopped sales wise. This one's flopping critically. I'm gonna guess it's not gonna sell much better.
You never know. There are movies that are critically crap and then you make tons of money.
Yeah, but I don't know. I heard it was already.
Get ready to look at Warcraft this weekend. I'm sure it will sell gangbusters.
We'll see. I heard, Mirror's Edge Catalyst, I heard was already really hard for them to convince EA to let them create. So I doubt we see another one of those. What's next? Let's talk about what happened this morning. Persona 5 randomly got a North American release date, which I wasn't expecting.
It did.
So that comes out on
Day.
Valentine's Day. So
2017.
Max.
I already have it pre-ordered.
You do? Are you gonna hang out with Abby, or are you gonna play this game?
Tuesday. It depends on the schedule, because sometimes we just celebrate that stuff early. But what I did
that's the smart thing to do with Valentine's. Celebrate early.
Well, the thing is with Persona 5 is, I'm playing Persona 4 right now. I actually need to dive back into it. But I haven't beaten it yet. So I really don't know if Persona 5 is going to be a thing for me, if I really want it. But I know the demand for it's high, and I know I love collector's edition and specifically steel cases. So this morning I actually pre-ordered 2 copies of the game, because there's the collector's edition, which I just snagged because I knew that would be high demand. But there's also this is their day one edition equivalent, but it's actually limited quantities, and it's just a steelbook edition. So all it is a steelbook. Regular price of the game, $60, but comes with a steelbook, which is nice looking. So I'll pick if I want it, period, and then I'll pick which version I want. But it's not that expensive for the collector's edition. Comes with cool stuff. The box art. Did you see the box art for this game?
Yeah, the box art's real pretty. I like it a lot.
It's hot.
It catches your eye.
It
It's
is
one of those games where if you were a kid walking past all the games, looking at them on the store shelf, you'd be like, "Oh, this is standing out to me." What's this look like?
Where did I put? Wait, XCOM. I put the wrong link in the notes. Darn it! I want to look at that sexy box art again. Anyway, Persona 5 box art looks good. So anyway, that's February 14th. I'm kind of surprised people thought it was coming stateside this year, just because
a bunch of people thought they were
going to Japan in September.
A bunch of people thought they were going to try to contend with Final Fantasy 12, or 15, which would have been
well. They are. They're a week early in Japan.
Well, in Japan at least, but I mean, yeah, like worldwide, it would have been interesting to see them go toe to toe at the same time. I didn't want that though, because I kind of feel the same way. I'm way more excited for Persona than I am Final Fantasy, but I want to give them both a shot. I don't know if I'll buy each of them. We'll have to see what else is coming out around the same time.
But I like to see what Final Fantasy does, man. I might get it just for a Kingdom Hearts fix, for Pete's sake.
Oh, good lord!
Because it plays like it.
It'll be cool. I really am.
That box art. It's so pretty.
Interested in it. You did. Yeah, I'm interested in both of them. I'll probably definitely pick up Persona though, because I do like Persona 4, but I don't know. It's like it's not anything bad about it. I just can't get hooked with it for some reason. And I feel like if I had it on a console, it would be something I was hooked into though. I don't know.
Well, something if you really want, buy a PS Vita TV super cheap.
Yeah, that's something I've thought about, but
because believe me, I thought about it too. But since I don't really need to, I'm totally fine with it.
Yeah, I'm fine with it too. Bottom line, I'll probably end up giving both of them a shot, but I'm more excited for Persona, and I'm really glad it's actually coming next year.
It gives you space, man.
It gives me space.
February is that golden time too.
It is,
especially for a JRPG,
and especially for an action RPG like Horizon, which is coming out 2 weeks later.
Ooh,
we found out as well.
Talk about them segues.
Yeah, so we got a new trailer for
Horizon Zero
Dawn yesterday. Yeah, yesterday. They showed off a little bit more of the game's story.
We forgot something else.
No, Kingdom Hearts related.
No, this is legitimate.
Okay, we'll do it after this. So we got a new trailer for Horizon yesterday. Showed off a little bit more of the game's story, like what the goal is and what the character.
I actually thought it showed off a lot. I thought that was an E3 trailer. That was like 3.5 minutes.
Yeah, it was. I think they're probably going to show us more gameplay at E3.
I'm going to be mad if they show that
favor of the trailer. Maybe they'll show like a quick snippet version of it or something like that. I don't know.
It's funny, that trailer reused footage.
Yeah, it did. I noticed that.
I was like, oh my gosh, they really wanted to drag this out.
But they came out with the new trailer, and then at the very end, very quickly, I should note, for like barely a second, they showed the release date, which is February 28th, 2017. And then they cut from it. And then, so it was kind of funny that it got a delay. They posted it on the PlayStation blog and said, hey, it's got to get delayed. We're sorry, blah, 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 blah. Which I don't think this was, we heard Shinobi report on it a couple months ago that the game was delayed. So this is something we've talked about, and it's not something we're surprised about. I never expected this game to come out this year. So I never really had it.
Shuhei Yoshida looked Colin Moriarty in the eyes and said, Horizon Zero Dawn 2016.
Yeah, it's welcome to video game business. That's just how it is. So even if they, and he also said he said that to him. He said that to him in December as well. So maybe it wasn't getting delayed at that point. I don't know.
In the eye.
In my mind, it was never coming out this year though. Even if it would have, like
the game.
But yeah, even if the game would have come out later this year, that would have been great. Like I would have been happy, but I was never expecting it to. That was always the one I expect for
a delayed game that gets more polish. I'm always a fan of. Always a fan of more polish and to make the games run better. You know, Uncharted 4 got delayed. Last of Us got delayed. Those are my prime examples I go to for those things. They get the time they need. I think even Witcher was delayed. I think. I could be wrong on that. Don't quote me on that.
Yeah, I think it was originally a fall game, if I remember correctly, but I'm not sure.
You know, it's... Darn it, I just blanked. The game itself from the trailer, very pretty looking.
Looks dope.
It looks fun. You know, I mean, it's this bow and arrow thing, which everyone loves. It has an inch. The world seems interesting. That's a world I want to explore. and it's a PS4 exclusive. It's a third-person game, which is different from what Guerrilla's done in the past. So I'm interested to see how they adapt from first person to third person.
It's nice to see them mix it up too.
It
I always like when
very original, and I'm a sucker for dinosaurs. I'm a sucker for robots. I'm all about robot dinosaurs. That's why I saw Transformers 4, was because I was promised robot dinosaurs. And out of that 2.5 hour, 2 hour, 45-minute movie, they showed up in the last 20 minutes. I was robbed of my robot dinosaurs. This game has them everywhere. So
and now we're getting a fifth one and a sixth one.
Oh, yeah. Come on, Michael Bay. Show us those explosions.
Dude, Transformers 3 is one of the worst movies of all time. Like,
oh yeah,
I think it's my least. I think it's one of my least favorite movies of all time. Like, that's the only time I've ever been in a movie theater and wishing I could leave.
You can get up and leave. You don't have to.
I didn't drive there. I think I went to go see it with like my brother and my grandparents, and we all drove together. And I was like, oh my gosh, I need to leave this theater. I hate
just
this
go
movie.
a really long bathroom break.
Yeah, I think I did that.
Transformers 4 was the first movie in a long time where I checked my clock. Like, I pulled out my phone. I was like, is this movie over yet?
Yeah, those movies aren't good whatsoever.
I still remember the first one blowing my mind as a kid, though.
I think we found a Transformer.
I think we found a Transformer.
Mark Wahlberg. Yeah,
Marky Mark. Anyway.
So there's that. And our what was the news story you wanted to talk about?
I just want to say one more thing about Horizon. They got the bad news out of the way. Because they're going to show off this new gameplay potentially during the press conference and all the other new stuff. Like, you'll forget about this delay in the grand scheme of things. So it makes sense that they announced it now a week ahead of time. It's just a smart move.
Just don't threaten to kill anybody at Gorilla, please.
Oh, please, no.
Please don't threaten to kill us nice people. Was that the other thing you wanted to input? I know you said we forgot one thing.
We forgot one thing. Ukulele trailer.
Yes. Okay, so I was thinking that. Yep. Yeah, we did get a new ukulele trailer. Gosh, it looks amazing.
It looks like our childhood transformed into the HD era. It looks good. The only concern I had from watching this, and I'm not, obviously the game doesn't come out until Q1 2017, but my biggest concern was these worlds look very big, which I'm fine with exploring big worlds, but they didn't look like they had a lot in them. It looked empty to explore. I'm sure there's plenty of secrets, but like the enemies were really far apart and collectibles seemed far apart. Like, it just seemed like a very vast area that was very lacking as far as like substance in the space. And I'm worried about that based off that trailer.
There's going to be substance, trust me.
If
it does follow,
I want this game to succeed.
If it follows the Banjo formula, each of those worlds you saw will be a completely separate world, kind of like Super Mario 64.
Oh, yeah. I feel like that's what it'll be. But, I mean, there are just parts where I'm looking, I'm like, man, that looks empty.
I don't think they've shown off enemies or anything, really. I think mainly they were trying to showcase the abilities that it looks like you're going to have.
Which, I mean, looks straight out of Banjo, just with a burden. I mean, it looks similar to that.
Considering Banjo is one of my favorite games ever, this is a dream come true. I am so excited for this game. I can't wait. It kind of got delayed until Q1. I don't know if you said that already, but did they say 2016?
Because I never thought we had a release window.
They did, so it kind of got delayed. But again, I never expected it to come out this year. That was a game when you asked me what games I was looking forward to in 2016. That wasn't even a game I would list. That's how sure I was that it wasn't coming out this year. So it's coming out Q1 2017 now. So probably sometime between
right around February, right when PSOne comes out and Horizon, we'll just get all of them.
Yeah, probably around March or something if I had to guess. I don't think it'll come in January, and February is starting to look pretty packed. So I think March or early April is probably a good bet for that game. It looks awesome, though. I am so excited for it. That is one of my most anticipated games now. See, because it was already good enough when we saw the original like beta footage that they had when they launched their Kickstarter. I was like, wow, this really looks a lot like Banjo. And then seeing that trailer yesterday, it looks exactly like Banjo. Exactly like Banjo. That's the thing. Everything about it is exactly Banjo-Kazooie. It's a complete and utter ripoff. The music's a ripoff. I mean, the same guy did.
I mean, I wouldn't use the word ripoff. It's the team that made those games.
It's the team that made the game. So I mean, I say ripoff in a loving way. Like, it is Banjo. This is Banjo-Kazooie with a lizard and a bat instead. That's all it is. That's all it is. This is Banjo-Kazooie 3. This is the game we've wanted for years, and we're finally
Banjo 3, 3E, 3E, 3E.
I'm really excited. I can't wait to play this game. It looks so good, and I hope you give it a shot too. I don't know how much.
I'm totally on board with this game.
Okay,
100%. As soon as that Kickstarter went live, I was like, "Yep, this is a game I want."
Have you ever played Banjo?
Banjo, a little Kazooie, mostly Banjo Tooie, and I actually
replay.
I do. I haven't dove back into those games. I play a little Kazooie on the Xbox One, but I haven't dove back in yet. And those are games I really do want to go back and like play through all the way, because I never owned them outright as a kid, but I played them at the neighbor's house all the time. I love Banjo Tooie. That world, that game is so much fun. I love those games, and I love Donkey Kong 64, which is another rare game of that same style, that worlds and collectibles, and those games are good, man.
One quick thing I saw in the ukulele trailer that really, really made me excited, because I didn't know if they were going to do it. You see the ukulele transform at one point, and that made me really excited. They're going to still do the transformations, probably on a world-by-world thing, kind of like they did in Banjo-Kazooie. Maybe they'll probably.
I remember turning into a dinosaur. I remember turning into a dinosaur. I remember turning in. That's it. All I remember is the dinosaur.
The best is when you turn into a pumpkin and get flushed down a toilet into poop land. That's in Banjo-Kazooie 1. So
yeah, never got there. So
it's like
anyway.
So yeah, that looks awesome.
We have one more thing to news.
One more thing of news, and we'll get through it quick. And there's not too much to say with it, I guess. But Telltale announced that the Batman game is coming this summer. First episodes of that, and The Walking Dead season 3 will be arriving this fall. I don't think either of those were huge surprises. Batman was always slated for this summer, I think, so that was almost like confirmation more than anything. But we really didn't know the status of the 3rd season of The Walking Dead, so that's cool that we're getting that later this year.
I'm excited for that. I'm really interested to see if they stick with Clementine, or if they she's more of a cameo character and you start.
I think they have to.
But I mean, 2 had so many different endings, though. You really could have ended up in
That's true, but they'll find a way to bring it back all together eventually, because some of those episodes end, it's like, wow, those are drastically different endings, and then you see how the next episode starts. Like, okay, you can see.
We'll see. I'm very excited for that. My 2 biggest things with this in particular. Their final episode, I think, for Minecraft is coming out, or is out.
I think it came out today.
Which, by the way, I don't know if you heard this, but your Pee Wee Herman guy is a character in that.
Yeah, I know Paul Rubens is in it.
Anyway, the Michonne game they just did, the 3-episode miniseries. While I don't think it was received as well as previous Walking Dead games, it was the first time Telltale ever had a strict, deliberate schedule. Each episode came out 1 a month, 3 months in a row, and they stuck to it. So I'm very curious if they're going to start introducing that formula here on out, because Batman is going to be the first new game they do since Minecraft and Michonne. And what was the other one they did after Minecraft? Minecraft
no, I don't think they've done anything.
No,
since
what
Minecraft.
They did with Borderlands and Game of Thrones were the same time.
They did Borderlands and Game of Thrones, and then it was Minecraft, and then they did Michonne, and now everything that comes out afterwards is supposedly going to be a new system.
That's my second thing is
our new engine.
Batman needs to introduce the new engine. If Batman does not have the new engine, that makes me very concerned for Walking Dead Season 3's engine. I should not have issues playing on my PS4. Did you have issues playing Tales from the Borderlands on your Xbox One? Did you have technical glitches and hiccups?
Every now and then.
But they were there.
Yeah.
They shouldn't be there.
Yeah, they were there. They were prevalent on Game of Thrones as well.
Oh my gosh. I like this. I hope Batman introduces the new engine. I really do, because I love the idea of this, because the thing I'm excited most about Batman is you're making decisions both as Bruce and Batman.
That's what I'm excited about too.
And
I'm
that
actually
sounds
more
like
excited for the Bruce parts than I am the Batman part.
And that sounds like Tales from the Borderlands, the dual protagonist thing. The catch is you're the same person, you're just two different figures. So I think it can be really strong narratively. I just hope it performs well. And I really shouldn't be worrying about a game's performance, especially one as simple as far as mechanics go as a Telltale game.
Yeah, so I beat Tales from the Borderlands the other day, and I told you that I like Telltale games, but I'm also kind of getting sick of them at this point. And Tales from the Borderlands was the one I liked it, but I I need a change here. I need a change in something because it's become too formulaic.
I'm so surprised because Tales from the Borderlands is that thing that's different. It's bright, it's colorful, it has more action. Sure, it's the same gameplay. It's like,
yeah,
swipe left,
that's what I'm
swipe
saying.
right.
Aesthetically, it's different, but I need something different
It's funny.
gameplay wise and like
Yeah,
I don't know. I know they're going to be the same games. I know this is their model, and if you're not on board with it, then you don't like the games. But I don't know. I just found myself kind of like not grinding through it because I was really enjoying my time with it, but I need a change in something. And so if I can even see some subtle differences with the engine, then that would be nice because it really has been the exact same gameplay and the exact same engine since Walking Dead season 1, which I played in 2011 or not 11, maybe 12.
I don't
So it's
know,
been
man.
like
But they've
I
put
think
out
it
so
was
many
like
games
it's
too.
been like 4 years.
It's 4 or 5 years. It's a long time. But I really do hope Batman's a new engine game. And I'm curious to see if they say new episode each month because they did that with Michonne on a very small scale with 3 episodes.
It would be smart. It would especially be smart if they released all the Batman stuff somehow. Like let's say Batman comes out at the end of this month. Surprisingly, I don't even think that's a surprise because they dropped those out of nowhere. Let's say Batman starts around the end of this month. It would be nice to see like June, July, August, September, October, and then Walking Dead starts in October as soon as Batman ends or something like that.
That would be they keep them coming. I mean,
yeah, I hate when they overlap.
Put out a new level, which is a completely new map, world, targets, environment. Sure, Hitman has its own technical problems, but that's a whole different beast. If they can put out really big and robust new episodes each month, Telltale, especially for all the properties they have, can put out something new each month, I think, especially if it's in the same storyline. We'll see. I'm excited. I'm excited for it. I think Batman's
yeah, I'm sure
gonna be
this
really
is
cool.
something
They
we'll
have
talk
Marvel.
about again.
They've got Marvel
I forgot
coming.
they got the Marvel one. Yeah, I'm sure this is something we'll talk about again in a couple weeks because I assume how are you going to play them? So if Batman comes out, are you going to do episode by episode, or are you going to wait till they all come out?
Usually do them when they come out. We usually do it episode by episode when they come out. I don't wait till the end.
I used to do that. I did that with Walking Dead seasons 1 and 2, and I did it with Wolf Among Us. And then for Game of Thrones and Borderlands, I waited. I think I'm going to go back to the episode by episode format though, because
it depends
there's like
on
a little bit more anticipation with it.
It depends on two things, and really mostly one. It depends if I get it for work because I did Tales from Borderlands for work, so that was episode by episode. If I don't get it for work, these are the games I play with my girlfriend. And she likes Batman, so I'm sure she'd be interested in this game. Yes.
Yeah, I think I don't know. So more than anything, I'm interested to see the design style of Batman.
I heard it was isn't it gonna be black and white?
Possibly.
That would be so cool and stylish. It'd be like
the Wolf.
It'd be like the Wolf Among Us and Tales from the Borderlands as far as like action and dual protagonist.
They can't do the Joker. They can't. I don't want to see the Joker. Please do something else. Please. Like the Joker is the best villain in like all of comic books, but I want to see a different take because we've got the Arkham games which have fantastic Joker stories.
Arkham Knight is the best Joker story in
Arkham Knight.
Oh yeah, I love that story
with the Joker.
Yeah,
I like.
Oh, it's so good.
Oh, okay. I don't even think of him very much when I think back on that game. It's all right.
Oh, he's the star.
Yeah, anyway. I guess kind of. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, I'm sure we'll talk about that more in the next coming weeks, especially because I probably will jump on Batman when it comes out, and I expect it to be out within the next Batman 3 or 4 weeks. I like my Batman.
So
that's
it.
Our unexpected notable news. Yeah.
that's the pre-E3 just dump. Just here, take our news. This is the small stuff. This is the small, the bad, and the leaks, all before
Yeah.
E3.
Yeah. So we thought
Big
this
deal.
week was going to be way more sparse because we didn't think anything like this would come out a week ahead of E3, but we were wrong. So there's all that. Next, what we originally planned to do was just our entire episode centered around our top 10 favorite games, week 2.
Yeah.
We'll be doing that in just a moment. And until then, listen to a little song we got here. Okie
Okay.
dokie.
What's on?
Let me pull up my list. Actually, let me jot my list down because
I'm actually gonna run to the bathroom real quick too.
Oh, good grief, Max!
Sorry, internet, YouTube. I have to go to the bathroom. I'll be back.
All
Don't
right,
worry.
I'm gonna write my list down on paper. Actually,
Oh, really quick though.
nah.
Are we doing predictions for EA, Ubisoft, and Bethesda? Because I
thought
did
we
not make
could.
lists for those. I thought it was the
Yeah.
big 3.
Theirs was a little bit more straightforward. We'll figure
I
that
have
out next
nothing for them.
episode.
Ubisoft would be Splinter Cell, and that's it.
I jotted down things for them, and yeah,
I thought it was just the
I
big
don't know.
3.
I think theirs are a little bit more straightforward. We'll talk about it when we end this one. What we want to do with it.
All right, I'll be right back.
All right, sounds good. Hey YouTube, what's up? Who's hanging out in the comments or the whatevers? Let's see. I'm actually trying to get to our YouTube page right now. Max has got to pee. He's taking a big old leak. I don't know if it's a big one. Maybe it's a tiny one, actually. He's got a small bladder, or he's been drinking lots of water today. I pee before the show. I plan ahead, unlike the co-host of this show here. Hey, Kevin, if you're watching, we still need to kill them spiders and stuff, because I know they scare you. Maybe we'll do that soon. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe you should get Overwatch on an Xbox and play that with us instead. I like my favorite games list this week. It's good. I like it. I like it.
I'm back.
How was your pee?
This is fine and dandy. Remind me. I'm gonna write a note down.
Okay, we'll get to it at some point, Kevin.
Oh, are you talking about the spider thing?
Yeah, we need to do that at some point. Hey, Kevin, do you know what the boss is in that dungeon, by the way? If you know, tell me. Well, I'm going to guess it won't be hard either way with both of us. But there's some annoying bosses in those Chalice dungeons. Especially Amygdala. I freaking hate Amygdala.
I wanted to show you the pixel perfect difference. I'll do this when we're completely done recording, but I'm going to send you 2 pictures. I'm going to show you what it looks like before it and after it on my 3DS. And I just wrote a note on the show.
What is this for?
Remember when I bought A Link to the Past on my 3DS?
Oh, yeah.
I wanted to show you the difference in it because it's really nice. It's really cool. But that just
so is this a comparison between the Super Nintendo version and the 3DS version?
No, it's on the 3DS because it's a toggle. You can turn on pixel perfect mode on or off.
Okay.
So I just want to show you what it looked like, the difference wise.
Hold the door. Hold the door. Hold the door. Hold the door.
You're a monster.
Hold
All right.
door.
I made that joke though. We were playing some game at Abby's house. We had these game nights. And crap, what was the subject? Because I wrote things that you find funny that no one else does. And I wrote hold the door. And only like 3 other people at the table got it. And then I started playing the clip on my phone. It was great. I'm a monster. Anyway, let's shrink this.
Oh, dang. Mirror's Edge Catalyst is already on sale for $50 at Target this Sunday.
Interesting.
Nice.
I mean, dude, video games get so cheap anyway. I mean,
Yeah,
Battleborn. I mean,
that's
sorry.
That's
Yes,
why
Battleborn's cheap, but Overwatch was like 50 or 40. I saw at one point. Anyway, I'm ready to dive back in and talk about our top 10 NES.
Are you?
N64, PS1, Game Boy, and Game Boy Color games.
Are you ready? Okay. By the way, yeah, Square Enix's thing, whatever they're doing, is tomorrow.
Oh, interesting. So
I think that's why that Kingdom Hearts thing is coming out. I think it's gonna. I think
a
they're doing
lot
a
of sense.
Deus Ex demo, and then they're not showing off that Kingdom Hearts thing, whatever it is. If it is a Kingdom Hearts thing,
But yeah, let's see.
the
So
2.8.
8 o'clock. So my alarm will be. I'll have like a 3-hour nap, wake up, and do that, and go back to sleep.
8 o'clock for you?
8 o'clock in the morning is when the trailer drops.
Oh, okay. Well, then they've got something. Okay, then I think what they're just doing tomorrow. I don't think they have an actual press event this year. Then I think they're just showing off Deus Ex to everybody, and that's tomorrow at 11:30.
Could you hear that chewing?
No, not really.
Okay. I mean, I'm not gonna shoot. I'm not gonna eat on the show. I realized I was eating. I didn't want to bug you. Eating on the show is a no-no.
You ready?
Okay. I'm ready. Let's do this. Top
Are
10.
you ready?
N64, PS1, Dreamcast, Game Boy, and Game Boy Color games.
Generation X.
You ready?
Yeah. Let's do it in 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to episode 44 of Millennial Gaming Speak. I am your host, Logan Moore, and Max Roberts is back from the potty.
I did go to the bathroom during our break. That's something I try to take care of.
He tries to take care of his bladder like a good old dude.
Like a normal human being.
Like a normal human. So, week 2
Dose.
Our favorite games of all time segment. Max, this week we are covering the Nintendo 64, the PlayStation 1, the Dreamcast, the Game Boy, and the Game Boy Color.
Near and dear to my heart. This is what I grew up on.
This is what we both grew up on.
Remember how I said last week was so hard for me?
Yep.
This week, after we recorded that episode, I wrote this entire list of about 15 games. Granted, I shortened it down to our 10, but I wrote out about 15 games in 5 minutes. I was like,
do you still have all 15? Do you have honorable mentions or anything by chance on your list?
I don't. I scrapped everything. I did not put any honorable mentions.
I've got mine on my list that I've got as honorable mentions.
Oh, I do. I can give you one right now. You want?
Yeah, okay. So let's fill the people in. If you're not familiar with what we've been doing here, we've decided to do a 6-week segment starting last week on episode 43. So if you didn't listen to that one, go back and skip about halfway through the episode and then get to our topic segment, and you'll find where we talk about our top 10 favorite old school games last week. This week is week 2, where we're breaking down our top 10 favorite games from the N64, PS1, Game Boy Color, and Dreamcast combined. It's not top 10 on each system. It's top 10 from all of those consoles together.
It's just that generation. What games are our
console
favorite.
Generation is what we're calling it. So this is, again, I said this last week. These aren't what we think are the best games. This is what is our favorites personally, even though I think some of mine this week can also be considered the best.
I'll tell you this. My list I moved around based off impact, personal favorites, and things. Like, I made some sacrifices because I thought some other things stood out as a little more important.
Yeah, I did the same thing.
So this is our second week of this. It's our top 10. What else? Am I missing anything?
I don't think so. So this is week 2. Again, I said week 6. Next week we are going to be doing. I'll cover that at the end. Next week's going to be GameCube, Xbox, PS2, and Game Boy Advance,
GBA,
and
PSP.
Right. PSP as well. Did we do that?
No, wait.
PSP will be the next.
PS3?
PSP will be
Never
next
mind.
week.
I'm done
with DS. So, anyway, without further ado, do you want to let's start with, if you've got any honorable mentions, let's get those out of the way. Let's give credit to everything.
Here we
Let's
go.
give credit to the stuff that just missed the cut.
You ready?
Yeah,
This
just
is
you can
in
list,
honor of your Barney
you
mention
can
last week.
you can list all of these off, but if you've got multiple ones, you can list them all off in a row.
I just have one that popped in my head just now. I own it. I'm proud of it.
Elmo's Number Journey.
Nope. I saw that at a garage sale though.
Okay.
No, this is a great game. It's called Superman 64.
A game I bought myself.
It's a gem. It's a real great gem. It's a pile of crap. No,
it was fun to do the training mode, and there was like those two guys in a car, and you could pick up the car and chuck it at one of the guys, and then use the frost breath on the other guy, and then that was about as fun as the game.
In all seriousness, some honorable mentions. Pokemon Stadium on the N64 really does mean a lot to me. That game is so special. The announcer, the gameplay, the GBA cartridge, it's great. I love it. Fantastic game. Didn't make the cut.
Just missed it.
Just missed it, just barely. The only, I think pod racing, the pod racing game.
It's a good call. That's a good call. Yeah, I had that game. I didn't. That game didn't make my top 10 or my honorable mentions. But I definitely liked that game back in the day. It's really good, solid racer.
And that's where I'll leave it. I don't have too much more to say.
Let's go through my honorable mentions.
Super Mario Land 2, 6 golden coins.
some of these might surprise you, Max. Got to give a shout out to Rampage 2. Awesome game. Love playing that game with my brother. Just big old dumb monsters beating up buildings.
That game. Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yes.
Yep. That game ruled. Me and my brother played that all the time. I still think that's maybe my brother's favorite game ever. Gonna give a shout out to Resident Evil, the original Resident Evil.
Never played a Resident Evil.
I never played the original on PlayStation, but I did play the remaster on GameCube, and that was really fun. So I like that game a lot. Rayman 2, shout out to Rayman 2. Fun little platformer game that I played when I was a kid. Found it, and it's fun. I mean, that kind of got me into Rayman. So when they came out with the side-scrolling platformers a couple years later, it was a little bit weird. I was like, I'm not used to this. I'm used to this being a 3D platformer. Shout out to Donkey Kong 64. That did not make my cut, but again, another rare gem that I greatly enjoyed when I was a kid. Max is frowning. I'm sure it's on his list.
By rare gem, you mean from developer rare, not a literal rare gem.
I guess it's both. Well, not really, because everything Rare put out back in the day was awesome, so it wasn't that rare of them to make a good game. No, I definitely think Donkey Kong 64 is fun, but it's probably one of Rare's worst games from that era. It's only because
really
they made
heavy
so many
collectathon.
Yeah. So
you cannot advance without collecting everything.
Yeah. And
it's rough. It's
Brian,
a rough collectathon.
Brian, if you're listening, please don't murder me in the middle of the night, because I know that's your favorite. Shout out to Jet Force Gemini, another Rare game that I really enjoyed. That game always scared the living poop out of me when I was a kid. For some reason, I don't know why, but I loved playing it. You're a little spaceman, space lady, and a space dog, and you're killing ants that are taking over a koala's homeworld. That was like one of the first third-person shooters I ever played, and it was really fun, and I enjoyed it, but man, it scared me when I was a kid. I was like 60 years old running around shooting everything up. It's a really fun game. I like it a lot. Went back and played it a little bit on Rare Replay. Doesn't really hold up, but it was fun back in the day. These next two I know are going to take Max back. Star Fox 64. Shout out to Star Fox 64. Didn't crack my top 10. I think it's a pretty straightforward game. I liked playing it back in the day, but I don't know. It's fine. It's fun. I've never been the hugest Star Fox fan, but 64 is definitely the best in the series, but still couldn't crack my top 10. And then finally, shout out to Pokemon Yellow. First Pokemon I ever played.
Interesting.
It's definitely one of my favorites, but it didn't make the list for one reason or another, which we may find out why later on. Hint, hint, hint.
I think I know the answer then.
Yeah, so
one more popped in my head, just very quick.
What is that?
GoldenEye.
GoldenEye.
64. It, 4-player local co-op. I never owned it, but I played it at a friend's house all the time. There's just something you cherish about that split screen multiplayer. So it's one of those great games.
It's a fun game.
All right. You want to dive into our lists? Our top
Sure.
10
So now here goes our actual top 10 list. We will go back and forth like we're playing tennis or pong or whatever your preferred game of balls
table
going back and
tennis.
forth is. Ping pong.
Well, we're going to be starting from 10 and working our way down to 1 each.
Max, you
I
want to
imagine
start?
there's
Or
going to
you
be
want
some
me to?
crossover.
Yeah, I for sure, except for one game that you should be ashamed that you haven't played, but we'll get to that later.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I can start this week since you started last week.
Did I start last week? All right. Well, the floor is yours. What is number 10?
Number 10 is Star Fox 64.
Okay, so
Just
it barely could have cut 10.
Barely
Okay,
made the cut
so
for
me,
me.
so me saying it was an honorable mention wasn't the worst thing ever.
No, Star Fox 64, I bought it at a garage sale, or my dad really bought it at a garage sale. A neighbor across the street was selling a bunch of N64 stuff. I got gems like Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1, Donkey Kong 64, Star Fox, and I got the Game Boy adapter, like the Game Boy cartridge adapter. I think I even got Pokemon Stadium.
Did you get the Rumble pack?
No, I bought Stadium later. Yep, I have a Rumble pack. I have a memory card. Like it was a really good haul. But Star Fox 64 wouldn't have been on my top 10 list if it wasn't for a different neighbor that told me, hey, all those planets on the top half of the screen, you can go there. Just do this. And he opened up this whole new world to me. And it just, as a kid, it was so cool that there was this other half of the map I could explore by doing certain things.
Yeah.
In levels, like save Falco, for example.
I didn't learn like on this point, I didn't learn any that you could do certain things like that until probably 5 or 6 years ago. For the longest time, the game starts off and it looks like there's a path to go left and a path to go right. I went right every time I played that game. I don't know why. I could never get Falco, and I did say Falco, and I did do the requirements.
You have to fly Falco through the rings, all 5 of them.
Yeah, I did. I played that game so much. I learned how to say Falco. Falco never died. I know I had to have done that at some point, and it didn't trigger.
Something must have been wrong.
Well, we even went back and played it at one point a couple years ago, and my friend's like, yeah, you didn't know you could do this? And we had to do the level like 2 or 3 times before it finally worked. He's like, I know we did it right. I don't know why it's not working. So I don't know, but I never knew that you could fly through that waterfall and fight a completely different boss until a couple years ago. That opened up a new world.
That's why, because it really was cool to me as a kid. I think it's a really great on-rail shooter. I think it's cool to have a submarine, a ship, and a tank. And it was just really fun. It's that high score type of thing. So that's why it's number 10 on my list.
Really like that Star Wolf level. That Star Wolf level is a lot of fun.
It's good stuff, man. It's good stuff.
I never beat the game. My brother beat the game at one point, though. But I could never get past... I think the level I always got stuck on was when Slippy falls out of the sky and then you're like, I gotta go save him. And then you get in the Landmaster. I always died there. I don't know why. I always died there. So
loser.
Yeah, I suck. Anyway, my number 10 is a game I guarantee you've never heard of.
But I guarantee it.
It's Ken Griffey Jr.'s Slugfest.
Nope. The only baseball game I've ever played was Backyard Baseball with Pablo Sanchez.
That actually could have gone on this list.
Could it? I only played it on PC, so
I mean, I guess it's from that era, sort of. Eventually, we will have to combine PC games from certain eras. I know, like
I don't know,
that's down the road.
Windows XP Pinball. Does that count?
Yeah. Ken Griffey Jr. Slugfest. First off, Ken Griffey Jr. is one of the greatest baseball players of all time, and he should own the home run record, if not for getting injured. He's the best pure player I've ever seen. He's my favorite player of all time. Ken Griffey Jr. is incredible. But he made a pretty good game too. His game's pretty awesome.
Mean licensing his name was
same thing. I thought John Madden made the football games. I thought they
sat down at the computer, slapped the keyboard, and out came Madden every year. He's like, roster update, roster update, roster update.
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty accurate.
Anyway.
It's Ken Griffey Jr. Slugfest. Awesome game. Loved it. It was pretty much the first baseball game I ever played. I really learned a lot about baseball through that game. I think that's partially why I put this on the list, is because I liked watching baseball when I was a kid, but I didn't learn certain things like I don't know how a double play worked or like the difference between the positions and things like that. Like it was a fun game that I really enjoyed playing and was really accessible to kids my age when I did play it. And it was also a great learning tool for me to learn to appreciate baseball and to learn to like the sport. Of course, I still played like baseball back then when I was a kid, so I kind of knew how to play it. But yeah, it was just a really fun game. I remember playing it with my dad a lot. We would always sit down and play that dumb game, and I would always I don't know. I remember I know a bunch of old players or like late '90s players because of that game. And, I don't know. It was just I feel I play a decent amount of sports games, and when I felt compelled to put at least one sports game on this list because I know I've played a decent amount of them back then, and that was the one I chose. Yeah, the sports ball. If anybody knows me, they know I love baseball with all of my heart and soul, and yeah, so I felt compelled to put that one on here ahead of some of the others I mentioned earlier. So that's my number 10. Max, what's your number 9?
Number 9, Tetris for the Game Boy.
Interesting choice.
I mean, Tetris has been around for a very long time, but Tetris for the Game Boy really made the Game Boy the success it was initially. Like that got it in the hands of people. This was mobile gaming, before the cell phone in your pocket. Everyone was playing Tetris. Everyone had it on this Game Boy, and they just loved that game. And another reason, a little more personal, is my grandmother had a Game Boy, and she was the one that introduced me to Mario and Zelda through games on that system. But she always had Tetris, and I have her Game Boy now with her copy of Tetris, and so
cool.
It's like that's just a little like a personal piece of history.
That's
for
like
me,
your connection to your grandma in a weird way or something like that.
Yeah, the Game Boy really is the one connection I have to her, and Tetris is a big deal, and this is really where it took off, where it skyrocketed, and it's important in that way. And I think it's a very cool game to play on your Game Boy too. Great music.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's where Tetris really found itself, was on the Game Boy. And yeah, it's funny you mentioned that whole kind of story. One of my friends has got his mom's old Game Boy, and he's got Tetris on it, and he still plays that pretty often.
Everyone had Tetris, man.
She's not dead or anything, but so it's not.
Well, my grandmother's not dead yet.
She's not. I thought she was. So okay.
No, she is sick. So
we'll get well, Grandma. Yeah, that's cool though. That's definitely one of the the big Game Boy games from that era. So it's a good decision, Max.
Your number 9.
Number 9 for me.
Mighty number 9. Apparently is real, by the way.
I saw a picture of Colin holding it. So my number 9 is a game that I don't know would have been on my list until probably a year or two ago. But it's Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. Is on number 9 on my list. Barely cracked it. So for the longest time when I initially got this game, it was so different from Ocarina of Time, and I was a kid. Like I was fine with video games when I was a kid, but like still certain mechanics kind of trip you out from time to time. And this was one of the games that really I see your 3DS, Max.
And just for the viewers so they know.
I don't know if they saw it because I think the whole thing was on me, but you can show them in a moment if you would like. There it is. If you want to see that blur.
Okay, sorry. I'm sorry.
No, it was just it was one of those games. It was way different from Ocarina of Time, and it threw me off because of that.
Vastly different.
I didn't like it because of that for the longest time. I had played through it for a while. It was a game I never beat until the new 3DS release came out, and I found a way to enjoy it way more then. But even when I was a kid and I had the game, it was one of those games that as time went on, I learned how the mechanics worked, and I kind of grew up with it, and I learned I learned what it wanted me to do, and eventually I got pretty far in it. I think I got to like the 3rd or 4th. I think I got to like the 4th temple, the desert, whatever.
I've never gotten to a temple in that game. I have it on 3DS, and I played up to the first foresty area, forest area.
Yeah, swamp.
I saved some old lady from some monkeys, and that's kind of where I stopped playing that game.
The witch lady. Yeah, it's definitely a game that I grew more fond of as the years went on, but it was so jarring to me at first because it wasn't Ocarina of Time, and I thought in my head, oh, this is just gonna be the exact same game for some reason. Because I mean, you're a kid, you don't know how that stuff works, and you don't really back then gameplay trailers and stuff wasn't too prevalent, so you just bought the game because it had Zelda plastered on it, and yeah, so it threw me off for the longest time. But looking back at it now, the tone of that game and the themes of death and destruction and despair are so prevalent in it, and they're probably some of the more. It's probably the Zelda that touches on real issues the most, and it has this. It's really dark. It's a very dark game, but
It's the darkest Zelda game they've ever made.
yeah, I like it because of that.
I think it's that, and then Twilight, correct?
Yeah, probably.
And then
Yeah.
Link's Awakening, you could probably throw in there.
I don't know. I haven't played Link's Awakening. Well, I've played it on and
Link's
off when I was a
Awakening is
kid.
pretty messed up, man.
Yeah, I guess I did play Link's Awakening a little bit when I was a kid. But yeah, I like the themes of this game a lot, and I like the people you can interact with, and I like the cycle of the 3 days, and I like how many different things you can do over that span, and it's just really, really unique because of that. And I'm really glad they released it again on 3DS because I really found my love for it like on that system. Like I said, I started playing it a little bit more as the years went on when I had it on my N64, but yeah, it's a great game. I really love it. I'm glad to have reconnected with it somewhat recently. So
It's good. Yeah.
Yeah. What's your number 8?
Number 8, Mario Kart 64.
Mario Kart's awesome.
This, kind of in the same vein as I mentioned with GoldenEye being an honorable mention, this was that 4-player split screen racing. It's zany, with the items and the action, so many close calls, learning the shortcuts of the tracks, playing it with friends, playing it with my dad. These are just memories, and this game just sticks out in my mind. I still love Mario Kart 64 very much to this day. I play it whenever I can, and usually the Mario Kart 64 tracks are my favorite retro tracks that they put in the new games, like Mario Kart 8 or Mario Kart 7. Like, those are the tracks I look forward to, even more so than some from Double Dash. Mario Kart 64 is just a very special kind of game. It really, I think, took the Mario Kart formula from the Super Nintendo and made it the mega franchise it is today. Mario Kart on the Super Nintendo was a good game, but Mario Kart 64 is the one. Kind of, you mentioned earlier in the show, the Assassin's Creed 1 and Assassin's Creed 2, but kind of effect, where the sequel was just so much better in every single way, and it's had a lasting impact. I mean,
Mario Kart.
I flew across the country to New York City for the launch of Mario Kart 8, and without Mario Kart 64, I would never have done that.
When did you do that?
When Mario Kart 8,
yeah, obviously when it came out, but you went there specifically for that, or you just happened to be like in that area?
I went there for that. I went with my friend Landon and his mom. Her sister, so Landon's aunt, lives just outside of New York City, and all three of us had never been before. This game was coming out. We kind of like fused it. We're like, let's do this. So we went up for that launch. We were there at midnight. We were waiting around the block there in Rockefeller Center, and got our game. It was great. It's cool. One of the coolest things ever. But Mario Kart 64 is my number 7.
It's a great choice.
Like 10, 9, no, 8. I'm sorry. I can't count.
That's a very good choice. We may talk about it again later a little bit for a moment.
What? What was your number 8?
Number 8 is a game that you mentioned, but made my list. Pokemon Stadium. I had to put it in there. I poured so many hours into this game. Part of the reason I put it on here was because it's the first game I ever remember saving my own money up for. Because I knew that this game was coming out so far in advance because I was such a freaking Pokeholic at the time that I knew it was coming out, and I used to get an allowance of like $5 a week. And my dad's like, you save up your money long enough, you can get this game. I was like, well, when's this game come out? And he's like 4 months from now. I'm like, okay, I'll save all my money for it. And so I saved for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. And then it finally came out, and it was so satisfying. It was so,
isn't it? It's such a good game.
It's really fun. It's so simple, but like the things I loved about it were the fact that you could play your Pokemon games on the screen, or at least yellow, red, and blue. You could play
if you had the Game Boy player.
yeah, which came with it. So I bought it at retail, so I got that. And then I like fighting all the gym leaders in the Elite Four. It had a great versus mode. You could put together any teams you wanted. I love how it just was like pick any Pokemon, and you could do that.
Anyone except Mewtwo and Mew.
Yeah. So it was just
those games are great,
really
man.
cool.
My
shout out to the mini games on it too, which are incredible, and was part of the reason why I wasn't going to put it on my list, and then I remembered the mini games. I'm like, okay, this is going on my list.
Clefairy.
The Lickitungs licking up all the sushi and the Magikarps jumping in the air. Yeah.
The Rattatas running across the sand shrews digging down. Yep. Actually, Abby and I played that maybe a month or so ago, the mini games exclusively on it.
And they're awesome.
She has a copy with the box and everything. I mean, it's not sealed or anything, but she still does have the box and all the parts to it. So
yeah, it's a great game. It really is. I thought about putting either this or Pokemon Stadium 2 on it, but this was the one that's
2.
It was fun. It was good. It came out, I think, closer to the tail end of the N64 line.
I've always wondered why we never got another. I mean, there have been the console Pokemon games usually are in that formula, but like nothing never seems to have lived up to Stadium for me as far as the console games. Like all I want to do is do exactly what I did in Stadium.
Yeah, for sure.
It's so good.
Yeah, they came out with Coliseum and stuff like that, but that was totally different. I didn't like Coliseum. Ian, that was
or what was it? Battle Revolution was on the Wii.
Yeah, they came out with a couple of different ones that I just didn't care for.
Sure.
But yeah, Pokemon Stadium, awesome. Just really sentimental to me, and just I will remember that game because it was like the first game where I was like, "This is mine. I have purchased this item, and it belongs to me." So it's a really fun game. It's just it's fun. And that's why I remember it, and that's why it sticks out to me. And I played hours of it when I was a kid. So, number 7 for you, Max.
Donkey Kong 64. Donkey Kong 64.
Brian won't kill you now. Or maybe he will. Maybe he wouldn't be. He would only be happy if we each had it at number 1. So,
well, we'll see how it goes. But Donkey Kong 64, it was another one of those games from that garage sale pickup. Came with the player's guide. I think the yellow cartridge is one of the coolest. You know, they did so many cool things with the N64 as far as cartridge color. Ocarina of Time had, if you pre-ordered it or something, you got the gold copy. Majora's Mask, all were gold. It's really cool. I mean, Donkey Kong 64 had all these explorable worlds. I love all the different all the Kongs. The rap at the beginning is just so iconic.
That's true. I did forget about the rap.
Yeah, he's the first member of the DK crew. It's great. It's so much fun. My biggest problem is the collectathon that it is. But I think each environment is unique and special and fun to explore. I think it really was smart with, exploring the areas per character. Like only certain characters could go to certain parts. I think that made the worlds feel bigger, more unique, and fun to explore. I think it nailed that element of exploration, which kind of probably lent to the collectathon thing. Like that's where the two kind of butt heads, and one's really good and one's really bad, but because of it. The music is great. It's very atmospheric.
Music is really good.
It's just it's also a very pretty game, I think. I think still to this day, it's a very just like when you first load up Donkey Kong Island and you come in, there's just the water and the beach. And if you swim toward K. Rool's little ship island, like it starts to get rainy. Like I think the game
I like how
it has so much attention to detail that I think it really stands out. I like
the thing I didn't mention earlier too was I liked how different all of the characters were and how they each had their own unique instrument,
Donkey,
their own
Diddy,
unique gun,
Tiny, Lanky, Chunky,
and Chunky. Yeah, they were all really unique, and that was one of the things I liked about the game. Again, didn't make my top list, but a really fun game. Again, Rare could do no wrong back in the day, and even if I said I thought it was probably the worst of their games, I never played Perfect Dark, so I don't know about that, but definitely a fun game. Nonetheless, I really liked it, and it's too bad it couldn't have gotten on the Rare Replay for obvious reasons.
But, yeah, a couple of obvious reasons.
Yeah. Sticking with the rare theme though, number 7 is 007.
Oh,
GoldenEye.
GoldenEye.
GoldenEye is on my list. Yeah,
Nice.
GoldenEye was like the first person shooter I ever played, obviously, because it was like one of the only ones. It was like the first one on consoles, pretty much. My dad got it for Christmas one year from my mother, and then of course I ended up playing it myself as well with him.
Sounds like that Mortal Kombat situation from last time.
Kind of similar to the Mortal Kombat situation, yeah. Because eventually, I think my mom was like, "You gotta have him quit playing this game." And I remember specifically my dad hid GoldenEye from me for a while, and I was like, "Where'd the game go? I want to keep playing it." Uh, the multiplayer is fun, and while most people do remember the multiplayer, and I played a decent amount of it, I really like the story missions and stuff like that, and I thought those were tons of fun, and I would always replay. There was a couple certain missions I really liked. I liked the train mission. I like the where you have to get your way out of there with the laser watch at the end. I like the level where you start off unarmed and you have to use your magnet watch to acquire a key card, which then gets you out of the prison cell, and then you go and you karate chop the guard in the back of the head and you steal his AK-47. That's a fun level.
That's so cool.
Yeah, there's a bunch of really good levels in that game, and it was a game I probably played less of, and it was a game I probably watched my dad play more, but I loved watching him play that, and it's like one of my earliest.
That's just some really fun Easter eggy things, like like the cheat codes or things.
Oh yeah.
Like big head mode or other things. Like it was it's just so much fun. It was a lot crammed in there. I remember hearing a story Brian told me, who's been on the show in the past, like how they fit the Bond theme song on the title screen. It's actually like a bunch of tiny individual files. Like it's not one song file.
Yeah, I think I've heard the guy who did the music for that game interviewed, and he talked about that. Yeah, it was
it's really, like he fit a bunch of tiny notes together that are just playing in this loop.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, I remember that. I think he was on a podcast I listened to, and he was talking about it once. Yeah, it's a great game, and for being it's probably one of the best licensed games ever. And I've always, I don't know, it's so iconic for so many reasons. Most people say the multiplayer, but it's iconic to me for the missions and things like that. And I don't know. Again, it was the first person shooter I ever really played, and kind of opened my eyes to what that could be like. So special for that reason. But Max, what's your number 6?
Banjo-Tooie.
Banjo-Tooie. Interesting.
Another rare game. 3 rare games in a row. Banjo-Tooie.
Theme. I think that's going to be a theme.
Yeah, and 64 especially. Banjo-Tooie. Same kind of thing with Donkey Kong, where it had the different worlds to explore. Banjo-Tooie just felt very vast. There was the ice and lava world with the 2 different dragon bosses. There was the carnival. There's the sky level. And, I'm not even remembering everything. But that game just felt very big and ambitious. It was I thought, a really good sequel that improved pretty much everywhere. I love the characters. I think it's very charming. I know a lot of people complain that it just slapped googly eyes on everything. Like that was a rare thing to do, which it was, but I find it cute and charming and a lot of fun. I think this game is really special. And, it and Donkey Kong 64 just kind of duke it out for me. I mean, honestly, I could switch them and probably be fine. I mean, it might even just depend on the day you're asking me. But Banjo-Tooie is just this really special game. And I think it's in the exact same vein as Donkey Kong 64. I mean, the two of them go hand in hand. You really couldn't have one without the other. And these 2 games are the reason I'm excited for Yooka-Laylee. Like it's that nostalgia factor. And that type of game is gone. It doesn't exist anymore. And the people that really made the great versions of that, doing it again, is really exciting. And I think that shows the lasting impact these games have had. And now I really just want to play Banjo-Tooie on my Xbox, which is not good because I'm playing like 7 other things right now, and I really shouldn't be. Yeah.
Uh,
I remember fighting Mumbo Jumbo. There was like that boss fight where it was the robot version of Mumbo Jumbo.
mhm.
Oh, I remember that still. That was good. I had fun with it.
I have not played too much of Banjo-Tooie, and that's odd considering how much I love Banjo-Kazooie.
I'm
But
sure Kazooie's is Kazooie on your list, or was that an honorable mention?
I don't,
Ah, okay.
um, I haven't played too much of Tui, and it's a game I've wanted to go back to for a while, especially since I got Rare Replay. I probably need to reinstall it on my Xbox, and that would be something fun to play through at some point. Probably not too long of a game.
It'd be a good summer game, but
Yeah,
you should be playing Persona 4, so
I should be, but at least I know I've got like 8 or
oh
9
yeah, now
months
you
now
have
to
even
do
more
that.
time. But
Yeah, more time than we
still,
thought.
Persona
No,
Summer.
I do need to play it. I've been trying to boot it up every now and then. Tui though, yeah, the one thing I know you said you liked how vast and expansive it was. That wasn't something that I did like when I played it as a kid. I liked how tight Kazooie was and how it kind of streamlined you into these different worlds. And then the worlds themselves opened up a little bit, but I felt like Tui was trying to be bigger just for the sake of we're bigger. And that's
Mhm.
fine. That's fine and all, but I think it was I didn't think it was as good because of that. I sometimes bigger isn't always better, and I liked how tight Kazooie was. And we'll talk about Banjo Kazooie again in a little bit, I'm sure.
Ooh.
My number 6 is a game that I didn't even play until recently, and I'm wondering if it made your list, Max. Castlevania Symphony of the Night,
Interesting.
which I'm thinking probably did make your list for some reason, but didn't play this game on PS1. I played this game on Xbox 360, but it's still from that generation. I'm going to count it. I've raved about this game enough times on the show. If you're a regular listener, we played it last year for the first time ever. It's probably one of my favorite games I played last year. That
It's
these
a
new
fantastic
games
game.
or old games, it's phenomenal. I think it's the best. It's the best Metroidvania game in my opinion. I know there's a lot of good ones out there. There's Super Metroid. I know you're gonna say the Metroid Zero Mission is
Mhm.
probably your favorite. And then Shadow Complex I like a lot. There's a bunch of great ones. There really is, but I think this is my favorite. I love the tone. I love the weapons. I love the enemies. I love the inverted castle. I like how the game just literally flips itself on its head halfway through the game, and you have to almost relearn everything that you've learned up to that point because you feel
It's
like you've
nuts.
gotten so far, and then it just changes everything and literally turns it upside down. I love
It
everything
messes
about
with
that
your
game.
brain.
Yeah, it really does. You have to rethink everything, and you start trying to chart it out in your head, and it's a phenomenal game. I love that game. It's absolutely incredible. So many little secrets, so much fun. There's a great progression system where you feel yourself getting stronger as you go along. Really, really can't say enough about Castlevania the Night Symphony of the Night. We've talked about it enough though on the show at this point, and
It's a great. It's
I
a
feel like you know that I love
fantastic
it.
game.
What's your number 5?
Pokemon Blue for the Game Boy.
Interesting.
Pokemon Blue was my first Pokemon game before my parents got rid of Pokemon until I was 13 when Diamond came out. But Pokemon Blue obviously started the franchise. I mean, it was an instant hit.
We've
But
raved about it on this show before
yeah,
back
I
when they
think
had the re-releases come
the
out.
magic for me was this was my first dive into a game where I used the internet to just completely learn about this game, and I learned about cheats and glitches. And like this was the first game I really broke down, and I tested out so many different mute glitch theories, like pushing the truck or anything else. This was the game I used the internet for to break down. It was the first time I'd ever done that. And it's so cool and it's magical, and you just dive in and you became the very best. And it was this big and expansive game to me as a kid. It was also probably one of my first RPGs. And it's a, I love this game. I love it so much. I don't even know what else I could say about it. I love it.
Yeah, like I said, I feel like we've talked about this enough. Especially in depth about probably 10 episodes back. You can go back through our feed, and I'm sure we'll have a Pokemon titled episode in there somewhere. It really is good. My equivalent to it is Yellow. It was the first one I played. Just fantastic games. First RPG, and I mean, yeah, ditto to everything Max said.
Hey.
It really is. It's a great game. Pokemon's one of the best ever, and Blue, while I never played it, I know how it works and I know the formula with it and stuff like that. So good choice, Max. My number
Your number
5
5?
game we've already mentioned, Mario Kart 64 is on my list. First racing game I ever really played. First racing game I ever fell in love with, and one of the few I've ever fell in love with. We talked about it a little bit earlier. The only other thing I would really say to build on what you've already said, battle mode's a ton of fun. I think it's the only Mario Kart game that's ever really gotten battle mode right. All of the other ones since then, Double Dash was okay, but the Wii and the Wii U ones weren't great with battle mode. I didn't think
Mario Kart DS did very well.
DS, that's true. DS did well with it as well.
DS was amazing.
DS did do well. I forgot about DS. Yeah, I'd say 64 was one of the ones where battle mode worked really well, and I like doing that almost as much as I like doing the racing. So many iconic racetracks in this though. Like most of them, some of the more iconic.
I look forward to each one, man.
Yeah, there's not a bad track in the whole game, I don't think. And the most iconic ones, I think, in the entire series come from 64 specifically. And so even now that we're into Mario Kart 8 and they've remade some of the older stages and put them into the new game, the ones I always look forward to playing to the most are the ones from the N64. Yeah.
Now,
so
one interesting tidbit, this just popped in my head since you were talking about the courses themselves. Do you know about the glitch on the Calamar Desert?
Possibly.
The train level, if you didn't know based on
give me a fresher.
If you get a star on that level, then the second set of tracks you come across, if you turn left and you just drive down the side of the track so you don't get hit by the train, when you get to the tunnel, which is like right by the finish line, you like automatically do like 2 laps. Like you're just going so fast.
Trip the game out.
But you have to use the star, because if you go in the tunnel without a star, you die. But the star gives you invincibility, so the game doesn't kill you. So you can go from last to first in this.
That's really interesting. I don't think I knew that. So
it's a lot of fun to do. I don't think you can do it in the new ones, obviously, but it's fun to do in the old one.
So yeah, Mario Kart is my number 5, getting into the top 5 here. What's your number 4, Max?
This one was hard for me. This is the first video game I ever played. This is a franchise near and dear to my heart.
I know what this is then. And I didn't even think this warranted a spot in my honorable mentions. Because I didn't like, I went back and played it a couple months ago, and I didn't like it. And I don't think I liked it.
Are we talking about the same game?
Yeah, we are talking about the same game.
Oh my gosh, you're crazy.
You're talking about Super Smash Brothers.
Super Smash Brothers on the N64.
Yep.
Another Titan franchise introduced on the N64. First game I ever played. This game is pure magic. And this is where I learned about characters like Captain Falcon and Ness. I just bought my first F-Zero game a week ago. Still haven't played it yet because everything's packed away, but these are where these icons hail from, or like they all mash together. Obviously, they don't hail from it, but I wanted to put this at number 1 so bad. But these next 3 games, I think, are just these next 3 games I want to talk about. I think the impact they had, not just mostly on the industry, but on me personally as well. I think that outweighs I know I keep saying I love these games that I keep talking about, because I do, but I don't know. There's just an attachment. It's the first game I ever played. I still have my copy. Like, everything is still there. I mean, it's just so special, and it was really hard for me to put it here. Not because like number 4 is a bad slot, or by any means doesn't make it a lesser game, but I just think these next 3 overall are more important. But the one nearest and dearest to my heart out of this whole list is Smash Brothers.
Interesting. Yeah, and that's where you got to start figuring out how you want to work your list out. Is it the one that means the most to you, or is it the one that you
this week
love to play the most?
This generation is it changed the course of I mean, it's what got us where we are
I'm
today.
looking forward to seeing what your next three are. I know what one of them is for sure, but
I'm interested. We'll see if you know.
I know what one of them is for sure, like 100%, like no doubt in my mind. I know what it is.
Text it to me now, and then
No,
we'll see if
because
you're right.
I know
But I'm
exactly what
not
it
even
is.
gonna open it. I want to see if you know it, but I don't want you to say it out loud.
I know what one of them is, but I don't know. I don't know if it's number one, but I know what one of them is for sure.
Okay. Well, what is your number 4, Logan?
My number 4 is and before we get off Smash Bros, I like Smash Bros. It was fun. It wasn't Smash Bros to me until GameCube, and
Melee.
I played the N64 one a lot, and I had it, but I don't know if I ever really like loved it. It was fine. It was interesting to me more than anything, and kind of like you said, seeing all the different characters come together. I played it a ton, and I really do like it, and it's not a bad game by any means, but I couldn't think of putting it above any of the other games on my list here, and that's why it didn't make mine. Still, not a bad game, but it didn't become the Smash Bros that I adore until Melee. So
And think about it. This is one of the big games for Sakurai.
yeah, that's true.
This pushed Sakurai into the limelight.
My number 4 is the best Pokemon. It's Pokemon Silver. When it's Pokemon Silver and Gold, whatever. I mean, you're splitting hairs there. I had Silver. I liked Lugia more, so Pokemon Silver is the one I go with. Best in the series, still the best in the series. Soul Silver on the DS is the best because it's a remake of what was already the best. So if you've never played it, go pick up Soul Silver on the DS. I know it's probably about $50.
It's so hard to find.
I know it's like $50, but go play it. It's so good. It's one of the generations of Pokemon that they've added on that I feel like still fits together with the originals, if that makes any sense. I feel like eventually some of the Pokemon started feeling different, and like it wasn't like they fit together. If that makes any sense at all. Like they started making Pokemon really weird. Like here's a Pokemon that's made out of ice cream and like weird stuff like that.
Ice cream though was way later on.
Yeah, I know that's like way later, but still. The second generation
and different.
Huh?
They felt unique and different.
Yeah. The second generation felt like it went hand in hand with the first generation, and it blew my mind when they did it. I'm like, oh my gosh, they're adding
when you
more?
go back.
Yeah.
Back to
when you can go back to Kanto, that for one is what makes it awesome.
That's all because of Mr. Iwata.
Or yeah, Iwata. What did I say? Sakurai.
I figured it out.
I tried to say Sakurai. Yeah, so Pokemon Silver is the best in the series. I love so many of the Pokemon in this game, and I think that it probably has one of the better storylines, as well, as weird as that is to say. I like that Team Rocket's kind of on the fringe. It has some of the most memorable moments in the series to me, and the most memorable moment in the series, which is fighting Red on top of the mountain. That's the best part of the whole series. I don't care what anyone says as far as the story goes.
You know, I've told my Pokemon story on this podcast before, but after Pokemon Blue, my parents kind of kicked Pokemon out of the house. So I never got to play Gold or Silver or Crystal. I did own a copy of Gold later on in life. I don't anymore because I never felt a connection to it. So I sold it. And I never got to fight myself on the mountaintop. It sounds really cool thematically and narratively, but I never got it. So I don't have that connection with it. And
yeah.
I feel like it sucks for me.
Dude, go back and play Flippin'. Go back and play.
Honestly, what I'm banking on is they put them out like they did Blue, Yellow, and Silver. Or Blue, Yellow, and Red. Like they just put Gold and Silver and Crystal out.
That'd be interesting. That'd be something.
Clearly they're capable. Same hardware.
Yeah, that's true. They definitely could. Yeah, Pokemon Silver is my favorite in the series. I really love it. I love the Pokemon that they added in the Johto region. I love the addition of the dragons specifically was like a big thing to me back when I was a kid. And
the dragons.
Yeah. That was when they introduced Dragon type.
So. No, they had. What are you talking about? Pokemon Blue and Yellow. One of the Elite Four is a Dragon type, Dragonite.
Did they?
Oh yeah, I remember it because you had to have a Dragonite to. Like I killed his Dragonite with my Dragonite. Used Dragon Breath.
I thought that they introduced. if that is true, they introduced dragons in a more fuller capacity by the next game. So that was
They didn't really have too
interesting.
many, but Dragonite definitely is Dragon type, 100%. And Gyarados,
Was it, or was it just flying?
nope.
Because I thought they made a big deal about it in the second game, but maybe I'm
Yes.
completely off here. They added Ice type, and they added Dark type, and they added Steel type.
Articuno was Ice.
Mm,
They added Steel.
They added Steel, and they
I
added.
remember that because Steelix. I remember Steel.
I thought they added Ice type too.
Nope, because Articuno's Ice.
I guess. Yeah. I don't know. I forget. Maybe I'm
You're crazy.
Anyway, Pokemon Silver is the best in the series. Go play it. Really, I love Pokemon, and that's the best one by a flipping mile. Number 3, getting into the top 3, Max.
Well, you know, and a lot of people really quick do agree with you. Like Gold and Silver is the best generation. A lot of people believe that. So it's a big deal. Anyway, number 3. We've talked about it before, so we don't really need to talk about it too much. But Castlevania Symphony of the Night.
Okay, so okay. Now that I thought this would make the list, but I didn't know if it beat out Smash Bros. So I was skeptical afterwards.
Believe me, I told you it was hard. Castlevania Symphony of the Night is a fantastic game. We've said it before on the show. I said it 5 minutes ago. This is near perfect game design. This is how you make a video game. This is how you design a video game. It's core, it's fundamental. Everything makes sense. It flows beautifully. It's just this I'm going to keep saying fantastic. It's a wonderful and magical game. And it's on Xbox One backward compatibility, right?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so if you have an Xbox One or an Xbox 360 or a PS3, you are able to play this game. You can go out and buy it. I think it's like $10. I really probably should buy it for my Xbox because I still can't play it on my PS4, which is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. But I also I really want to own a copy of this game for the PS1. I want to own an original copy. It's also beautiful to look at. The art style is great. It's a 2D game, but it's so big and expansive. It really nails that exploration, coming back, becoming more powerful, just style of game, which we summarize as Metroidvania. It's wonderful. Symphony of the Night, number 3.
It's a solid game. I like it as well.
It's a wonderful game.
We're getting into the heavy hitters, Max. And
Logan's number 3 is...
The next 3 are some of my 3 favorite games ever. So that's...
I can say stuff. When we get to the episode where we say our favorite games of all time, I imagine that we will see these games again.
Possibly.
Some of them.
Well,
for sure.
It's gonna be really hard to make that list.
It's gonna be tough.
Really hard to make that list.
How do I fit Uncharted 4 and The Last of Us on there?
Yeah. Jeez. Number 3. Metal Gear Solid.
Dun 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 dun.
I'm glad we did that at the same time. I didn't play Metal Gear Solid until much later after its initial release, probably about 10 years after it came out. I think I played it when I was in 7th or 8th grade. I had heard so much about it. Snake was in Smash Bros. I was wanting to learn more about him.
Snake and Brawl was insane.
Yeah.
I still think he's the craziest third-party character they've ever put in Smash.
Yeah, it is really weird that they were able to get him in it. So yeah, I knew about Snake, and I had heard enough about the series, and I had heard so many people say Metal Gear Solid 1 is probably top 5 game ever. And so I went to the store one day, and I think I've mentioned this on the podcast before because we've had a Metal Gear specific episode before, and I saw the collection. I saw a collection, which was back then not all on one disc. It was 3 games combined together in one box for 20 or 30
I almost bought that. I have a story about that too, but
I bought that, and it came with Metal Gear Solid 1, 2, and 3 for the PS2, which was backwards compatible. So I had to make sure that I still had my PS1 memory card, which I did because for some reason they couldn't save on the PS2 memory cards, which was strange back in the day. So I played through Metal Gear Solid 1 and just an awesome game. The story is so good. The boss fights are so good. The writing is fantastic. I love the characters to death. Snake is awesome. All the people you call Campbell Mayling, Otacon's one of my favorite characters in the game. I love the Gray Fox.
Sniper Wolf.
Sniper Wolf is great. It's a great fight as well. Psycho Mantis is probably one of the best boss fights in all of games. Liquid's awesome.
I'm sorry.
No, the list goes on and on. It really does. All of the characters are so well written, and the voice acting performances are so good. Even when I played it so much, like 10 years later, it's still held up. And I went into it and I put it in, and I was like, I expected it to be the one. I was like, all right, I want to play this series, and I want to learn why this series is so revered, and I will play this game. I expect this first one to be the one that I'm just trying to rush through and get through. And then I bet they get better with Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3. Metal Gear Solid 1 was so good. Like it kind of surprised me because I went in with tempered expectations because I knew I was going back to play an older game. I think by the time I played it, PS3 was out too. So it was starting to feel a little bit older, even though it was only 10 years or whatever. But so my expectations for it were a little bit lower, and I just enjoyed it so much. And I still remember beating it, and my mind was blown by everything that happened. And I was having a case of the feels, and I took it out of my console and I rushed it across the street to my neighbor. I was like, you have to play this. And he's like, what is it? I was like, it's Metal Gear Solid. You know the dude from Smash Bros. Snake? And he's like, yeah. I was like, this is his game. You have to play this. Like, all right. I was like, no, like, you have to play this. Trust me. And he's like, okay,
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Did you save Mei Ling? I'm sorry, not Mei Ling. I'm Meryl. I'm sorry.
No, I didn't. And that was weird to me when she showed back up in Metal Gear Solid 4 because I was like, you died. Why are you here?
No, yeah. They just went with the ending where they saved her.
That threw me off. So, yeah, I didn't know there was any difference there at all. I didn't know. I thought that she just died, and then they threw her back in Metal Gear Solid 4, and it didn't make any sense to me. I later learned that was like a split decision thing that you could either save her or not save her. But yeah, so I could talk about the game forever. I honestly credit Metal Gear Solid, like up until this point, I would call myself a gamer or whatever, hardcore gamer, whatever you want to call yourself. Metal Gear Solid changed things for me though. Like this was one of the first times where it was like, okay, I've heard so much about this series. I need to play this. I owe it to myself to play this. I am of an age where I feel like I can like comprehend games now, and I don't need help or anything like that. I mean, I was 14 or whatever. So, I mean, I make myself sound younger than I was, but yeah, that was like the first time where I was like, I need to play this game. If I want to call myself a video game player, then I need to go and understand the games that came before my time. And it really changed a lot for me, and it really made me view gaming differently. And I owe a lot of my passion for video games to this game. And I have a strong feeling we're gonna bring it back up here in just a moment. So what's your number 2?
Metal Gear Solid.
I figured as much. I told you that was the one I knew was definitely on your list.
Text me, Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't need to reiterate what you just said. I do want to share my personal stories, though, with the Metal Gear Solid 1 and then the Metal Gear Solid franchise kind of very briefly. This game has a very cinematic feel, which at the time was very new. Hideo Kojima, all his games are cinematic. He feels like he just has a passion for presenting his stories in a very polished way. It's nice. It's cool. But I didn't play Metal Gear Solid 1 first. I played Metal Gear Solid 2 first. Borrowed it from a kid across the street. Good friend. Borrowed it. Played it. Loved it. Loved it so much that I made a PowerPoint to convince my parents why I was allowed to play this rated M game. And so we went out, and I wanted to buy the collection, but I think it was before I convinced them that I could play them. So they said no because it's rated M, and it had like sexual themes in it, which is all Eva's fault in Metal Gear Solid 3. But anyway, later on, I was able to buy 2 and 3. So I played 3 next. And 3 is my favorite Metal Gear Solid game. 3 is fantastic.
Yes. It is.
Okay, I thought you were like saying no. It's like, no, 3 is the best. And then I went back and I played 1. But how did I acquire Metal Gear Solid 1? Well, I'll tell you, Logan. I took my PSP to a friend's house with a PS3.
You did the old downloading onto the PSP.
Yep.
I think we've talked about this, and then
I logged into his account and played it.
Was this the one where you sat out in the middle of a hallway and beat it in a hotel?
I did. That's where I beat.
Okay, so we have heard this tale on our show before.
This is where I beat Rex. I was at a late night hotel, way past midnight. I leave the room so I don't make noise, and I just sit in this hotel hall beating Metal Gear Solid and just having the time of my life on my PSP. It was great. And that all leads to Metal Gear Solid 4, where my friend let me borrow his PS3 for the weekend. I stacked it up on some DS cases so it could breathe, the ventilation. Played it on my CRT television. And completed what completed it until we now have the Phantom Pain, which I still haven't beat. But Metal Gear Solid, again, is another game that just really, maybe not birthed, but it put a franchise up at the top. And its presentation on the PS1 is unprecedented. Its storytelling is amazing. The Psycho Mantis boss battle where you put your controller in port 2, which on the PSP,
how does that work?
Well, on the Vita and the PSP, if you are playing a PS1 game, you actually have full control over your button inputs, the mapping, everything. You can even change which port you're using. So you can, which I'm sure they designed that specifically for Metal Gear Solid, because I'm sure there are other games that have tricks with port 2, but you go into basically the emulator menu and switch to port 2. You can even switch the memory card. So if you, for some reason, there was another game, if you had like the memory on your memory card, he would comment on that. Like you could do that all through.
Like I see you've been playing Castlevania or something like that. Like if it was in the Konami family, I think he commented on it because they couldn't do it with like games that weren't theirs.
Yeah, so that game is so special and near and dear. And I mean, it was your number 3, it was my number 2. I feel like we talked about it enough. It's I gotta stop saying fantastic, but it is a top-notch game. It deserves the number 2 spot I gave it.
It definitely does. My number 2. I'm interested to see what your number 1 is.
Well, that's why you have to tell me your 2.
I think I know what it could be, but I thought we were on the same page with that. Maybe not though. Number 2, Banjo-Kazooie. Banjo-Kazooie rules. It's the best platformer of all time. I will take that to the grave, and of course, unless another one comes out before I hit the grave. It's fantastic. I could rant and rave about the game forever. We already kind of talked about it earlier with Yooka-Laylee.
Best platformer?
Yeah, for sure.
Best 3D platformer or best platformer period?
Platformer, full stop.
So it's better than any Mario game.
Yep. It's the best. It was the first game I ever got for my N64. Better than what? Mega Man?
Mega Man, Shovel Knight.
It's best platformer. Best platformer
That's
ever.
Crazy. That is slap that on a t-shirt and sell it.
I told you I love Banjo-Kazooie. I had an argument in my video game history class about this, between this and Super Mario 64. And Super Mario 64 sucks in comparison. Banjo-Kazooie is the game, dude. It is. I love all the different worlds. I love how varied they are. I love that you can transform into a different character in every different world. I love how funny it is. I love the jiggies and the notes, and I love how every place has specific things to collect. I love the trivia game at the end where it makes you recall things from the past. I know a bunch of people hate that. I think it's kind of witty and funny. The game has such a sense of charm to it. I love everything about it. I finally beat it like 5 years ago for the first time ever, because I could never beat the witch at the end. Finally played through it on my 360, downloaded it from Xbox Live Arcade and beat it. It's such a
your rare replay.
Yeah, and then they did come out with it on Rare Replay. It's such a satisfying game. It's really I could rant and rave about it forever. It's so good.
So why isn't it your number one?
Oh, because you know why. But we'll get into that momentarily.
Hmm.
Yeah, Banjo really though. It's so good. I know a bunch of people say it's just a collectathon. Kind of, but each of the
It's no
worlds
Donkey
has
Kong 64, I'll tell you that.
each of the worlds has such a great feel to them, and I love it because of that. And it's just I could seriously go on forever. It's so good. It's a game I like revisiting, even though I don't revisit old games often. It's one of the few that I will go back and play. Like I said, it was the first N64 game I got, and so it's a little bit more sentimental to me because of that. But yeah, Banjo is amazing, and I can't wait for ukulele.
Ukulele. Okay.
Number one, Time Max. I think I know what it is.
Do you want to guess now before I say it?
Well, I thought I didn't. I want to say Super Mario 64, but I didn't think either of us had played it. So I like I've played the game, but I didn't think either of us had played enough of it to really say that it was like high enough to be on our list. That's why like it's not on my list because I haven't played enough of it to really give a verdict on it. I know how important it was for the industry. I know that it was like the first real 3D game and blew people's minds when it came out. And I know that it's probably your game now that I'm
Yes,
talking about.
it is. It's
Okay.
Super Mario 64. I've never beaten it.
How far have you gotten in?
Upstairs.
Okay, I think I beat Bowser. I don't even
So
know. So,
there's
see,
the first floor, then you go to the basement, and then you go upstairs.
this was a game I would call a blockbuster game where I would just every now and then I rented it from Blockbuster a handful of times, but I never actually bought it.
It's so weird because the memory's on the cartridge, so like you never had the same save data.
Yeah, I know.
It's so
So
weird. But Super Mario 64 changed everything. It it did. It made Ocarina of Time possible. It made Metal Gear Solid possible. It made 3D anything. Like it's the bar, it's the standard. It is the pinnacle of 3D games at the time. It proved that they were possible. It's so magical, it's charming, it's open. It's so creative with the idea of jumping in the paintings, and there are worlds there to explore, and you keep revisiting and you grind out the stars. And grind really is a poor word because grind makes it sound like it's laborious or you're not having fun. It shows that the different stars in, each little level, that there's new ways to approach it. And they were doing things no one had ever done before with camera controls and platforming in this 3D space. It's so cool. It's a game I played a lot at a friend's house across the street. Like a friend across the street had a lot more games than I did.
I think we all had one of those when we were a kid.
Yeah.
Like I have this game and you have this game. Let's swap.
Yeah, it was. I had the kid across the street named David and the kid on the corner named Ryan. Ryan was an only child, and David just kind of got a bunch of video games. I actually can still like picture their house layouts in my mind. That's how much time I spent over there. But anyway, they always had the coolest games. That's where I was introduced to Kingdom Hearts.
Maybe it would have been better if that house burned.
But I played a lot of Mario 64 there. I never actually owned my own copy of Mario 64.
I haven't either.
For the N64 until maybe a year ago. I bought it from someone here at school at UCF. But where did I actually play Mario 64 in full? Great question. Nintendo DS.
See, that was the way I thought that you may have played it.
That was the first game I got for the DS.
Because we kicked around doing a play and report for this game last year at one point. And so that's why I didn't know if it would be on your list or not. But I thought maybe you had played it on the DS.
Played it on the DS. Now, granted, the DS version is very different. It had,
Wario.
3 other characters you could play as: Wario, Luigi, and Yoshi. Its camera controls were weird.
Abysmal.
Weird. It was a game meant to be played with an analog stick, and it was, it's with a D-pad. I hear though, if you have a copy of it, I hear it is better on the 3DS. Not
Does the
not
pad
perfect, but it's
work?
better. Yeah, like
Okay.
it's obviously not perfect analog, but what it is it's easier to like, slide between it because it is this slide pad. I would love I'd love for that game to be on 3DS. I would love not even the DS port. I would just love like N64 Virtual Console on the 3D, the new 3DS, which I'm sure it can run. But I would love to play that game on the
Yeah,
3DS.
it would be nice to get that game on 3DS. It really would.
But, you know, the most important thing is it changed everything. It proved everything was possible. Ideas from there ended up actually being an Ocarina of Time and vice
Yeah.
versa. Like they swapped things. It changed everything. And it's utterly charming. It's magic. I think it captivated the spirit of the time of like this game and this new frontier. You don't really VR is the next step. And I'm curious what the Mario 64 VR is going to be. Like that's how the staple of Mario 64 has left on the industry. Like it's the bar for the next leap. After 3D gaming, the next really big leap was HD,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
now we're at this uncanny valley of things looking real, but VR is the huge jump. And I'm very curious to see what that staple game is for VR. But that's my
Yeah.
number
Well,
one.
while I haven't played it enough for me to really warrant putting it on my list, I don't think I definitely understand how important it is for the industry. And if I was to make a best list out of like best
Right.
games from this era and not favorite, it would for sure have to be within the top 5, probably top 3, if not number 1, because it is that important. Like you said, it really did blow people's minds when it came out. And holy crap, I'm Mario and I'm running around in any direction I
That
want.
open
And
area at the beginning of the castle.
it really did change everything, and it changed people's perceptions of how games could be played.
I'm looking up a
But
specific podcast for you. I'm gonna actually send it to you now
okay. Yeah, I mean,
because
it really just changed so much, but I haven't played enough of it to really know. And it should be something I go pick up on my Wii U at some point, and I really should play through it because I'm sure it still holds up in
it
some
does.
capacity.
It does. Don't you worry about it. All right, I know what your
So
number one is.
yeah, of course you do, because it might be my number one when we get to week 6. Honestly, like favorite game ever. It's been my favorite game ever for 15 years, probably. Or one of them. I don't know. I mean, maybe it'll be unseated, honestly, when we get down the road. But for the longest time, Ocarina of Time, number 1. It's been my favorite forever. It's the first game, like I talked a minute ago about how Metal Gear Solid felt like a change in me playing games and a change in me being a gamer. Ocarina of Time was the first one that really felt like it changed things, though. And it completely, kind of like how you talked about how the 3D in Mario 64 really changed everything and those open spaces and stuff like that. Going out into Hyrule Field for the first time was just mind blowing, and seeing
It Ocarina. I've never gotten past the Deku Tree. I say that
like
now. Everyone is upset about that, but it proved because the game before this was A Link
Link
to
to
the
the
Past,
Past. Yeah.
which the two of those between the Zelda fans, depending on who you ask, those two usually duke it out for best Zelda game. And it proved that this Zelda exploration style could work in a 3D space. And I think that's a more impressive achievement than proving Mario works in a 3D space from Super Mario World to Super Mario 64.
Yeah. And really, like, and I know I've said this as long as I've known you, you have to play that game. You really do. You have to play
It's on
this game.
3DS. I can buy it
Yeah, you do.
digitally.
Yeah, and it's $20 now too, because it was expensive there for a while, and then they printed it again and made it one of their classic collectors games or whatever. So it's like a $20 buy now. It's really cheap. You
Problem is
need to
having
put.
$20 for it.
Oh, you bought Alienation the other day. You can buy one of the greatest of all time games. Anyway, it's I could talk about this game for an hour. Like,
Please do.
I don't want to. We need to get going. I think one of the things that really, it was the first Zelda game I played too. That should be noteworthy. So that made me aware. If I talked about the formula, like going to the dungeons and getting a new weapon and then defeating the boss with that weapon, like that's a Zelda thing in and of itself. But it was the first time I was introduced to it in that way. The storyline's so good. Like the Zelda storylines are never amazing, but I think this one is definitely the most straightforward, and I like it because of that. The 7 year jumping 7 years and getting the Master Sword out, and you're a kid in one moment, and then the next second you're a teenager or adult, mind blowing. I couldn't believe what happened.
Time travel.
Because when I got to the sword, I was like, I did it. I beat the game, and it's like, boom, nope, you're an adult. 6 more dungeons to go, or however many it is. That blew my mind. I could not believe that. And the game has so much depth. It holds up so well too. It really does. And that's why I keep telling you to go back and play it. Because some of these games, like, they start to show their age as we go on. I really think in pretty much every way, Ocarina of Time is still an incredible game. And that's why it might be number 1 on my list in a couple weeks. Because it still is so good. Everything good that it did back in 1998 is still doing extremely well today. And you don't see games that hold up that well anymore. Like, I mean, heck, you can't go back and play an Xbox 360 game or a PS3 game anymore without seeing some of the wear and tear that it has on it, like 5 or 6 years down the road. This game is almost 20 years old, and it still holds up. Yeah, it works so well. It just, some of the things that, and I think it has a special place in my heart because it was the first Zelda. And again, like I said, I wasn't aware of the formula, like the collect 3 things. Cool. Go get the Master Sword. Cool. Now go get the other 5 things. Cool. Now go kill the boss. Like, those things didn't stand out to me. Or they stood out to me, but wasn't aware that was like a formula from previous games. I didn't know there was previous games up to that point. Also worth mentioning, the soundtrack. It's the best soundtrack of all time to any game ever. I know Zelda music is revered as being the best ever for the most part. Ocarina of Time, for sure, though, is the best in the series. It's the best soundtrack ever. I listen to the soundtrack often. Yeah, there's just, I think that was in Link to the Past, actually. Maybe.
The first Zelda song that popped in my head.
The first one you thought of. There is, there's so many aspects of this game I could talk about forever. The first person aiming with the hook shot and the arrows, the dungeons being laid out in 3D for the first time ever was a game changer. The verticality to it, which somebody pointed out the other day, I was listening to them talk about how smart it is when you first go into the Deku tree.
That's what it is.
The camera angle goes up and down to show you, hey, you've played Zelda before. This is a little different. We were adding depth to it. We're adding verticality to it. And the first thing you have to do in that dungeon is you have to jump off the top and you have to break the web at the bottom of the thing. Like, they do a great job of teaching you how the game works. Because it had
never been done before.
Because it had never happened like that before. Yes. It's
without ever a word of text.
It teaches you in a great way that's what you're supposed to do, similar to like Super Mario Bros. Like, you hit the block, you hit the next block, there goes the mushroom. You can't avoid the mushroom because it's going to come back and bounce at you. You learn that you grow, and then from there, like, it teaches you these game mechanics and how the game works without ever saying a word to you, which is always the best thing you can do when designing a game. Also, it should be noted that that game gets you into the first dungeon really flipping quick compared to some of the other Zelda games. You get the sword, you get the shield, you're in that dungeon. Yeah, I mean, all of them. Twilight Princess, Wind Waker. Some of those.
Yeah, Wind Waker takes a while. I mean, like the fortress is like a mini temple.
I wouldn't even say that's a temple. I wouldn't call it a temple or a dungeon either. Yeah, I mean, Dragon Roost Island, that's like 6 or 7 hours into the game.
Between Worlds, you're getting pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, that's a little bit different, though. As far as the 3D ones go,
3D, like this one
get you in there, and you are playing right away, and you're in Zelda dungeon mode quickly. And I don't know, getting the horse. I mean, there's so many iconic moments from this game. There really is. I love the feel of each of the different areas. I love the water, fire, desert, forest, the shadow temple. At the bottom of that well is creepy as I'll get at. I could go on and on and on. I could break down every single thing I loved about this game forever, and I won't, because I know we're already at like 2 hours, and we didn't expect this episode to be as long, and we got to record another one right after this. But it really is just such a phenomenal game. I fell in love with it the first time I played it when I was a kid. I'm still in love with it today. I don't think you talk a lot about like how you think Uncharted and Last of Us are perfect, and I always joke and say I don't think there is a perfect game, but if there was, I think
that's your perfect game.
It's about as close as it gets to it. I still could probably think of a thing or two I wish would be
Shovel
different
Knight,
or changed.
Last of Us,
Uncharted.
But the only connection I have to Ocarina of Time of substance is the speedrunning community and watching them break your game. It is amazing to see how this is the most broken Zelda game of all time. Like the community refers
for sure.
to
I think a bunch
broken.
of stuff on the early N64 is really broken.
It's just a marvel to watch them beat this game. You know, especially during AGDQ or SGDQ, so Awesome Games Done Quick or Summer Games Done Quick, whichever one. Ocarina of Time is always one I try to make time for. There's been blind speed runs of it.
Yeah, people have beat it without
for the first 3 dungeons. There's, just beating it like so quick. Like I think the record's like 14 minutes or something. It's so absurdly short. It's probably even shorter than that.
Something around there, yeah.
It's bonkers to just watch them play and break that game. And granted, I don't know the techniques, so if I ever did play it, I can't, break it for myself. It's not, the experience wouldn't be ruined for me, but it is so cool to just see that game be ripped to shreds and put back together in a way that's cool and exciting. And that's, this game did change things, and it's cool. It's awesome to see that.
Yeah, the one thing
that's what I got to say about that.
The one thing I'll say about Ocarina of Time is that it really did change things. It changed Zelda in a similar way that Super Mario 64 changed Mario. But the one thing I will say is that I felt like as time went on, 64 kind of didn't hold up as well as time went on, and then new things like Sunshine and Galaxy came out. And while they may not have been as well received as Super Mario was back in the 90s, 64 was back in the 90s, I think Ocarina of Time is still the benchmark for 3D Zelda games. And I don't think anyone's going to argue.
3D Zelda games have been based off of since Ocarina of Time. Everything 3D Zelda wise, same formula.
Yeah, it's the same formula, but I also think it's the best. I think it's still the best, like from a gameplay perspective and a story perspective, and like cohesion, like everything that is still the game. While some people may argue that 64 was good at the time, but looking back on it, something like Galaxy is way more well put together. Whereas nowadays, like the comparison between like Galaxy and Super Mario would be like what Twilight Princess and Ocarina. That would be the correlation there. And people would say, well, Twilight Princess is good, but it's not doing things as good as Ocarina does, and Ocarina is still better a lot in these regards. Whereas I feel like it's a little bit flipped on its head with something like 64 and Galaxy, where it's like, okay, yes, 64 didn't do as good with these things, but Galaxy's improved on them because of this. So, and I know that's kind of different, but again, I think like Twilight or Ocarina of Time is still the benchmark for Zelda games and 3D Zelda games specifically. Whereas
we're gonna see here a week from today how that's changed because of this open world formula they're introducing to the franchise.
I'm super interested. I'm hopeful. I love Zelda. It's probably my favorite franchise ever, but it's still got a bad Skyward Sword taste in my mouth. So
I love Skyward Sword. I don't know what you're talking about.
It was fine.
It's great.
like that's the thing. It was fine. And I don't expect like mediocrity out of my Zelda games. I hold them much higher.
10 out of 10.
Yeah, a bunch of people gave him a 10 out of 10, and now look how everybody looks back on it a couple of years later.
I love it.
Not favorite.
I look at it with these very fond eyes.
So yeah, I I don't know. I'm hopeful to see what Zelda's got in store next week. So
That's a wrap.
that is it for this week's episode of Millennial Gaming Speak.
This
That
is
is
a
our top
doozy.
10. Yeah, we went pretty long. I don't think we expected to go this long, but hey, that's how these episodes are going to be. Let's count down our list once again. I'll do mine. Number 10 is Ken Griffey Jr. Slugfest. Number 9, Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. Number 8, Pokemon Stadium. Number 7, GoldenEye 007. Number 6, Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Number 5, Mario Kart. Number 4, Pokemon Silver. Number 3, Metal Gear Solid. Number 2, Banjo-Kazooie. And then number 1 is Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time.
And my list is number 10 is Star Fox 64. Number 9 is Tetris for the Game Boy. Number 8 is Mario Kart 64. Number 7 is Donkey Kong 64. Number 6 is Banjo-Tooie. Number 5 is Pokemon Blue. Number 4 is Super Smash Brothers. Number 3 is Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Number 2 is Metal Gear Solid. And number 1 is Super Mario 64.
Solid lists by each of us, if I do say so myself. We'll have to see.
I have to
go ahead.
I have to say something about next time.
Yeah.
Can I talk about next time? So our next favorite games of all time list covers the Nintendo GameCube, the PlayStation 2, the original Xbox, and the Game Boy Advance. I have to say there were some parts in this episode where I was just thinking, just kind of like throwing some games against the wall in my head, like, oh yeah, that'll be on my list. That'll be on my list. Next week is going to be a brutal, like, just bloodbath to see what can stay on the list, because there are so many good games.
And that was when we were
hyped
both
for next week.
That was when we were both waist deep in games by that point too. I feel like these first 2 weeks was kind of like we were playing games, but we weren't really playing games at this point. I think next week's systems was really when we got, I think each of us got really into gaming, and that was where the foundation of who we are and what we like to play today really started. So next week's going to be interesting for sure. Speaking of next week, let me say something going forward that me and Max were talking about the other day. We've decided that I was asking him about how he felt about remasters and multiple games in the same series and things like that. And I just thought we would mention this here. I think we are going to go with the best game from one series. If there's multiple there's multiple games in one series on the same system, I think for the most part we're going to try to choose one game that we think is the best from that series, unless the games are different enough.
You did Majora's Mask.
Yeah, I know. And that's what I was going to say
today.
I did do Majora's Mask and I did do Ocarina of Time, but we both agree that if they are vastly different enough that we will, and we think it does warrant a spot, then we can put them on there. But the example I brought up to him was like Pokemon Yellow and Pokemon Silver. And for instance, Pokemon Yellow was in my honorable mentions, but Pokemon Silver was on my list. While the games are different, they're also very similar in a lot of ways, and I figured it would be better to just choose one of them that I thought was the best and put it on the list. Also, in regards to remasters and remakes and HD remasters, when we get to those in a couple weeks, we're only going to count the games that they were originally on the consoles that they were originally on, which is, so like, don't expect us to talk about Last of Us Remastered for PS4 or something like that.
My whole PS4 list is screwed.
Your PS4 list is done, buddy. Yeah, so games that are where they originally released is where we're going to count them. So I just figured we would drop that in there.
In the same vein of that, though, if it's drastic enough, I think it counts, because Ratchet and Clank is technically a remake.
Yeah, but again, I know that was your example, but I'd say 99.9999% of games.
Or look at Wind Waker HD.
I wouldn't count that. No.
I would. The Swift Sail, they redid the Triforce Quest.
That's just one mechanic, and that's just one part of the game, though. I'd say keep that.
That's a major part of the game, and
it's just one mechanic, though. The Swift Sail, like they made sailing
everything. Though.
They made sailing faster. It did change,
and I think using the gamepad to manage your inventory and the map, I think it is the better version.
I'll just say try to keep it off your list if you can. You got three other systems to work with there. You got the Vita.
What, for the Wii U?
Yeah, you got the Vita, you got the 3DS, you got the Wii U, and you got the PS4, and you got the Xbox One.
Yeah, but when Nintendo's putting out the cream of the crop,
I would say try to. I
try to. Like, obviously, I don't want to just fill my list with a bunch of games we talk about a week or two
because
prior.
I mean, spoil. Yeah, I mean,
Spoilers,
Spoiler
Wind
alert.
Waker is going to be on my list.
Yeah, we'll talk about Wind Waker next week for sure. So I think it'd be nice to stay away from them if we can.
But if it's
Be
the
nice to
best,
show-
it's the best.
It'd be nice to show some love to some other games. That was all I'm saying.
I
But
can't love any other games.
do what
Only
you
the
want.
games I grew up with that I keep buying every year because they keep getting remade.
Yeah, that's a good starting to. I don't know how I feel about that trend.
Let's wrap this show up because
Let's wrap up. So yeah, if you've got a favorite top 10 list from N64, PS1, Dreamcast, and neither of us had Dreamcast games, but we didn't.
What's
own
a Dreamcast?
Yeah, we didn't own that. But if you've got a top 10 list of your own that you want to send us, you can email us at mgspodcast@gmail.com with your list. You can hit us up on Twitter. The show is at MGS Podcast. I am at Moreman12. Max is at Max the White. You can hit us up with your own list there. We would really love to hear from you and hear what your favorite games are. Yeah, you better be Ocarina of Time if you've played the game, unlike Max. Let me see what else we got. Yeah, next week's list, like we said, GameCube, Xbox, PS2, and Game Boy Advance. So start making your list for next week so you can compare and contrast with what we've got.
I'm already crying on the inside of the
Do you want to? Should we mention our E3 plans here? Do we really know? We're not really. We're still trying to figure out what we're doing exactly for our E3 scheduling. If you want to know for sure, we're going to record another episode right after this, our E3 predictions episode. Go listen to the first 5 minutes of that. I guarantee you we discuss it, and we'll tell you what our schedule is for that coming up next week when E3 starts.
Boom.
So, also, new thing we need to start doing. If you're watching on YouTube and you like this show, please like, share, and subscribe. We would appreciate it so much. We got to start mentioning that because I forget we're on YouTube. Also, new thing, we are on Facebook now. We have a Facebook page that you can go like. And we'll be tweeting the show from there as well, putting the show up there. So we're now on Twitter at MGS Podcast. You can search for Millennial Gaming Speak on Facebook and find the fan page there. And YouTube, Millennial Gaming Speak. If you watch any of the episodes and you like this and you see us and hey, what's up? Please like, share, and subscribe. We would appreciate it so much. You have no idea how much we would appreciate it. But
I appreciate it very much.
I think that's it for this week's episode. If you are watching live, I know some people have been jumping in and out of here. We're probably going to be recording in like 20 minutes again. We got to get a couple things.
Not even that.
Yeah.
Not even that long. Well, it's going to be very quick.
I got to pee. I got to make a sandwich. I'm hungry. And then I got to jot down a couple things. I bet it's close to 11 if you're still listening. So, but for episode 44, yeah, for episode 44, we're out. We're done for the week. Thank you so much for listening. We always appreciate it. If you listen to these entire long episodes that we put up that are over 2 hours, we appreciate it because we enjoy making this show and we hope you enjoy listening to this show as much as we do making it. So we'll see you back here next week. It's E3 week. We're so excited and we hope you are too. Until then, have a good week. Have a good night. Have a good whatever time it is you're listening to this. We love you. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Okay. There's that. Export that audio now while you go make your sandwich and go to the bathroom and all that stuff.
We'll do that. YouTube, goodbye. Thank you for watching us tonight. Kevin.
We will. Yeah, we're going to be switching over to a different feed. So it's a different video title for our E3 predictions. If you wanted to tune into that,
we'll throw the YouTube link, or we'll throw the link up on our Twitter in just a moment. So
that is at MGS Podcast. So go follow us there and you'll see the show in just a moment.
Bye, guys.